Rise and shine, everyone. The Rise family here. This is our first live, and we are tackling a sensitive topic, okay? One that I've been seeing discussed here, and it's getting more frequent as the days go on, as the months go on. I'm hearing this topic all the time, and it just makes me itch. I gotta say that. It makes me feel very uncomfortable with what I'm hearing from these men on this topic. I don't think they're considering the broader picture. And so what I wanted to do was come and do our first live. Jamie and Lacey are right here with me. You guys, if y'all could speak to the people before they start saying, look at him, we don't even let them talk.
What's going on, y'all?
That's Lacey.
Hey, everyone.
And that is Jamie, okay? We're not on the camera today, but you do see our image up here. We wanted to be able to flow and get comfortable without worrying about, what we look like on camera. You guys know how that can be at first. So I want, Lacey, of course, she loves the camera. Jamie, not so much on live videos and things of that nature. So I want everybody to be absolutely comfortable, especially today with this touchy topic. All right. We want you to hear our minds, relate to how we think, understand how we think. And it's a whole lot easier if you can just hear our thoughts. Okay, guys? How's everybody? Let me get some shout outs. And I'll tell you what, I'll let Jamie and Lacey do that. I'll highlight them.
All right. So let's see. Official. Goodness
Looks
gracious.
like Filth Market.
Got it.
Official Filth Market already spoke up and said, nope, at some point she doesn't remember that those aren't your children. Okay, and every opinion is valid here, guys. We want to hear them all, so we're not shooting down any opinions. Thank you so much for that, Official Filth Market.
Welcome in, Twin Mommy 9495. Peace.
Peace to you.
And we see Am in the building.
Rise, Amber. And Amber, of course, will be coming up shortly. Also, hopefully, Cree. Hopefully, Miss White. Chatty Cathy should be in the building today. Lou Park will be coming up a little bit later. Upper Echelon is going to be coming up as well. And I may be missing a name or two, but I've intentionally reached out to different ones of you. Angie may be coming up. I've intentionally reached out to a couple of you guys who I've heard over the last few years. It's been that long. And you guys have really been given critical thought. And most people just regurgitate. They don't really think. And I love how you guys think. And so I want to get your thoughts on the matter. Okay. Let's continue giving some shout outs. Jamie, of course, says welcome in. Please be sure to hit that like button on your way in. And let's have an amazing build. And make sure you guys share this live. Trust me, y'all, share this live. We're going to be dropping some gems.
What's going on, Tyrese with the T? What's going on, love?
She says, hey, everybody. And we say, hey, back to you.
All right. Then we got the Michelle. How do you say that?
I think that's Michelle Dawson. Mm-hmm. She says, hey, Kevin in the chat. We say peace back to you.
Claudette Lee, 7689. Hey, Kevin, Jamie Lacey in chat. What's going on?
Well, we are amazing, Claudette, and thank you. Hopefully your day is going amazing as well.
All right, we got Dreamy Girl, always in the building.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your support, Dreamy Girl. You're always here. Glad to have you, man. And be in these comments too. We want you guys' thoughts, okay? If you are a single mother, also put a 1 in the chat. If you are a woman without children, put a 0 in the chat.
What's going on, Terry Doe? 9442. Thank you so much for the copyright disclaimer, the fair use, and we appreciate the family support. You always on every live.
Absolutely, one of the greatest supporters that I know. The man does it for a living, almost, man. You'd be hard pressed to support harder than Terry Dow. I don't know how he makes everybody's live every time, but the man does. Thank you so much for everything that you do, brother.
And apologies, Terry Dow. I always say Doe.
No.
And we got Chatty
Yeah.
in the building.
Welcome in, Chatty's bubble. I like that.
What's going on, Chatty Mama?
Can't wait to hear your thoughts on the matter. Chatty, of course, has bronchitis. So So I called her at the perfectly wrong time
Got it.
for her to be up here in voice today. But I did say, please be in those comments and drop your comments. And guys, if I miss a Chatty Cathy comment, let me know so I can go back and read it. I definitely want her thoughts to be heard on this live today.
Get well.
Absolutely. Get well soon.
And we got a hey y'all from Rosalind Crawford. It's UQ8JI.
Rosalind Crawford. It may be a little bit down. Maybe I'm missing one. Did we get Leela Johnson yet?
Oh, apologies. And I think I missed Miss Ashley 84 too.
Okay. And Ashley 84 is probably below her.
Above.
No, it's down one. She put a 1 in the chat and she is a single mother. Okay, Ashley.
Right. Let's see.
And no, maybe I'm missing somebody. Who was the person you named earlier?
I said Miss Ashley 84. You said Leela Johnson, and then I said Rosalind Crawford was the first one that I said.
Okay, Rosalind Crawford. I'm not seeing your comment, Rosalind. That's amazing. Unless she deleted it, but I don't see Rosalind Crawford in here. There it is. Hey y'all. It showed up to me a little bit later. I guess Lacey and them are getting it first, which is crazy to me. Because they're on their phones watching the behind the fact. They're watching it with you guys on their phones monitoring as well. But and I'm watching it in real time. I would think it would show to me first. But okay, welcome in Rosalind Crawford, UQ8JI, whatever that means. Okay.
Who is this right here? Hobby.
Yep, Hobby Hav. Okay, he says not necessarily what I would partake in. What happens if the relationship goes left and you've already built a bond with their child? Now that child's emotions is involved. That is something to consider. It's absolutely a fact. And I appreciate that, Hobby Hav. Listen, throughout this live, we're going to be talking about things that men and women should consider before being with someone with a child already, making you a step parent. So far, I'm only hearing this one-sided argument that men should consider all of these factors, when in fact, both people should consider these factors. When a man gets married to a woman and he has a child already, she becomes a stepmother. This child takes a liking to the stepmother as well, creating those same risks that if they break up, they may sever the connection between that child and that stepmother as well. And that may hurt that stepmother as well to not have that same access to that stepchild. Okay. Bottom line is we fall in love with these kids. Both of us do, men and women. And so these are things to consider. But should they be the determining factor as it relates to the topic in question? Should men avoid marrying single mothers? Should women avoid marrying single fathers? Okay. Sabby, 3210. What's up with you? Welcome in. She says, hey, Rise family in chat.
Hello.
I love that. Dreamy Girl says, you feel better, Miss Chatty. Absolutely. Yeah, Chatty's getting a lot of that. You feel better. Gifted Mind 22012 says, hey, Kevin in chat. Peace to you, Gifted Mind. Great to have you in today. Make sure y'all in them comments, man, because we're about to get started. When my nephew at Meek, Janae's actually watching him right now. She's going to keep him company. And if he, if he needs us too much, we'll go get him. Okay. He's right behind us. He's back there in the room. And trust me, I know Lacey's ears are on 10. She's listening to this live and watching you guys, but I know she can hear everything in that room. I just know it. You know how mothers are. And I'm listening as well, but I just know that I can't say my ears are peaked higher than hers. Okay. They bigger, but I don't think they're peaked higher. Okay. Let's see. Spicy Brown. Spicy Brown says, hey, Rise family. How do you, Spicy? Let's see, it gonna work here. Okay, hang on. Get you highlighted here. There we go. Spicy Brown. And Rise to you. LaWanda Phelps says, salute, Rise family in chat. And salute back to you.
Hello, hello.
Yeah. So listen, guys, before we get started, I often say that when we're having a conversation, we should always understand critical thinking faculties and what I call debate fallacies. Okay, issues that we have when we're debating topics, we often resort to things like ad hominems. And if you guys never heard of that, someone type it in the chat for me. Jamie or Lacey, if you don't mind, type in ad hominem. This is one of the most common fallacies that is done in a debate. the topic is not disputed at all. The person is just attacked. So ad hominem means an attack on the person, not their rhetoric, not what they said. You simply attacked the person. Okay, it makes no sense. It's like if I give an opinion on something, they'll be like, but you got 2 wives. That's irrelevant. You didn't even dispute the topic. And often when people do this, it's because they cannot actually refute your topic, refute your point. And so it's just not a way to actually bring light to a situation. I believe that when we have these types of conversations, they should be enlightening and with the intent to build. And when you introduce these fallacies, what it does is it breaks the conversation down and nobody learns. Okay, ad hominem, an attack on the person instead of responding to what is said. Absolutely, Lacey. Thank you, Jamie, for typing that in. The next one, guys, is called poisoning the well. Okay, poisoning the well is when you attempt to speak on the topic, speak on the thing the person says before you even let the crowd hear them say it. So this is when a person, they know you're going to say something, and so they'll pause it to already refute what you're going to say before you even get to say it. Okay, this is a manipulative tactic, and it shouldn't be done in an honest debate. Okay, poisoning the well. It's similar to if you hear a person bring up another speaker. You often hear this in church. They'll say, this brother is a prophet. He goes around speaking all these different things of God, and they'll build him up. Bring coming to the stage, Randy Watson. They done built him up. Now the crowd is looking at this person like they are a prophet, like they are a deacon, a whatever the case may be, whatever he's been projected as being, and it makes the crowd more subjected to listening to that person. Okay, and they kind of set aside their critical thinking faculty once you build this person up so high. Poisoning the well is like the opposite. Okay, let's see here. Tyrese with the T says sometimes kids keep a relationship with the step parents after the relationship is over as well. True. I still have a relationship with my bonus child. That's great. That is great. And I need those types of answers because, and like right here, you see what she said? Mm-hmm. Here's what people will say. That's an anecdotal response, right? They will say that's anecdotal. That appeals to the unique and not the majority. Right, and this will be a way to discredit what you're saying. Okay.
And what's crazy is I want to add right quick. Mm-hmm. My stepsisters, they still have a relationship with my mom. Mm.
Great.
Very close relationship with my mom.
Great. And often what people will do is if they have a narrative that they want to keep going with, they will consider all of those opinions or testimonies, experiences outside of the norm. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, well, that doesn't cover the majority, so it's kind of irrelevant. Right. And that's not fair. Every person's experience is valuable when you're trying to understand the totality of the thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Poisoning the well, when you give your opinion prior to revealing what's said in order to sway an opinion. Absolutely. Another one is called tu quoque. That is TUQUOQUE. Tu quoque. It means you do it too. Now, many of you guys hear this in your relationships, okay? When you go to your partner and you talk to them about something that's been going on, and instead of them saying, you know what, I apologize for doing that, instead what you get is but you do it too. And if you notice, guys, this breaks down the conversation. It doesn't get anywhere because if they do it too, you should have told them when they did it. Why would you wait until they're trying to tell you they have an issue just to say you do it too, okay? It is a way to not be accountable to what has just been said to you. Okay, the you do it too fallacy. Okay, so this is whenever in a debate, if a person is talking about a subject, the other person will say, but you do that. You see, and it makes no sense because you should be debating the actual topic. Okay, the next one is guilt by association. This is when a person tries to discredit your view because of who you're connected to. You've heard a lot of that in this saga. Okay, they'll blame me for what someone else said, for what someone else did. And that's irrelevant what someone else did if you're trying to talk about my character. You understand? So it's important that we don't make these fallacies. I'm going to keep going because I want to get to the actual video at hand because we want to make sure that we see all these things when they happen as it relates to the topic, okay? Shifting and dodging fallacies, okay? Moving the goalposts. I'm sure you guys have heard that one. When someone meets a certain criteria, someone will move the goalpost. So if someone qualifies for the criteria you just mentioned, if you don't want them to meet that criteria, you'll now add things to it, right? What makes a high value man? Well, he has to make $100,000 a year. He got to be 6 feet. Well, I make $100,000 a year. I'm 6 feet. Well, your nose is big. Oh, okay. I got you. You're moving the goalpost, ma'am. Right? Absolutely. Yeah, because let's say height's not actually in that. So you say making $100,000 a year makes you a high value man, but I'm only 5'6".
Yeah. And
now, okay, but you got to be 6'2". Wait a second, time out now. Corporate thugging. I also invited corporate thugging over. I definitely want your thoughts on the matter too, Mika.
What's going on, Mika?
Yeah. I like this. The next one I'm going to mention, guys, is called a straw man fallacy. Now, you know a straw man. That's a scarecrow. That scarecrow is not a real person, okay? It's not a real person, but it's who you want to keep the crows out of your garden, so to speak, right? The straw man fallacy works a lot of the same way. It's misrepresenting an argument to make it easier to attack. So when you straw man someone, you pretty much change what they were actually talking about. You change their points and you create for them another point so you can debate that point, not the original one, okay? And so that's what a straw man fallacy is. Red herring is bringing up an irrelevant point to distract from the actual original topic. So when you say you threw a red herring out there, that was to distract. What I said had nothing to do with that thing you just said. What's that over there? Fallacy, right? That's what I call it. What's that over there? Get you to look over there, and then by the time you look over there and look back, they're already gone. If you could turn the fan on, let's see if it affects the sound of it. If you guys hear a difference in our voices here, let me know, family. Okay. The next one is called what aboutism. Okay. What aboutism is when you deflect by raising an unrelated issue. But what about this thing? But what about that thing? But what about the other day when? What about yesterday when? What about 2 weeks from now when? No, I'm talking to you about an issue that just happened. Don't hit me with the whataboutisms. Okay. The next one is a non sequitur. It is a conclusion that does not logically follow the premise. Okay. A conclusion that does not logically follow the premise. Okay. I tripped on my foot the other day, so ghosts exist. How did you get there? How did you get from that to that? Right. And false dilemma is another one, family. And what I'm going to do is, there's quite a few, and so we'll learn some more on the next coming lives, and I'll preemptively give them before the next review. But I think I've covered quite a few here, and if they do one that I don't talk about, I'm going to simply enlighten you guys to that fallacy. Then we'll talk about the actual point. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the fallacy that's being made, and then we're going to talk about the actual points. Okay, is everybody ready? Put a 1 in the chat if y'all ready to get into this. Jamie, you ready?
Yes.
Lacey, you ready?
I am.
Okay, fantastic. Everybody put your critical thinking cap on, because here we don't just regurgitate. Here we don't just blurt. We think about what we're going to say before we actually say it. Okay. And I think as Black people, number one, we need to be doing this. Okay. But as human beings, number two, this needs to be something that we always do, man. If you do not critically think, if you don't know how to critically think, you have to learn how, because now more than ever, people are putting out false narratives and they're programming us every day with what you watch on TV and now more than ever on social media. If you don't critically think, they'll have you believe in whatever they run across your feed, family, and they know exactly how to do it. Every one of us, when we scroll and we see something a little bit differently, and what they do is it shapes what that stuff do is over a period of time, it shapes how you see things. And because you're not thinking it through, you're just hearing someone else's point. You're like, oh, that sounds good. And before you know it, you're a feminist. Or before you know it, you hate women. Before you know it, you're red pill, without considering all the things that's actually being said. Okay. So let's critically think. All right. There's been a whole lot of people just following a trend of what's being said. All right. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring up the topic of the video that we'll actually be debating or reviewing. and we're reviewing an actual debate. Okay, this is from the Lapeef Network. I love this channel. Follow the Lapeef Network. Shout out to this channel. They got a lot of great minds that come on this channel, I think nightly, to give their thoughts on different topics. And this one, I had to just review. Okay, let's bring this up. This brother, I would be so-called poisoning the well if I do what I was about to do. I was about to highlight a specific brother, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to listen to what's being said, and we are going to, have a good conversation about it, family. All right. Let's get started.
If we held each other accountable, I do believe Black women would have no choice but to follow suit. And the way we do that, we got to stop cleaning up after each other. And that means if a woman has a child by another man, leave her alone, hands off. Let that man, the one she chose, raise that child. And I think when men stop playing stepdad to another man's legacy, two things is going to happen. Women become more intentional about who they sleep with and who they let get them pregnant. And then men are forced to show up because there's no one else there to do it for them. And no, it's not hate or anything like that. Or I'm pushing and I don't like our people. It's just establishing some type of order. Stop rewarding recklessness. And I think a lot of us men are doing it. We don't like to talk about it, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it. But we got to let consequences teach what comfort never will. So if you didn't create the child, you're not responsible for the cleanup. Hold the man responsible and let that woman sit with the choices she made. And I think only then will the culture, will the community start to shift. Until then, we're just enabling and calling it love. But this is a hard choice to make. But I think if we start doing this, it's going to cause a huge paradigm shift.
So
now, before she makes her point, he went for about 1:34. I want to run his point all the way back from the top, guys, so you guys can hear what he said again and critically think. Don't bash, no ad hominems, no attacks on the person is what ad hominem means. No deflections, okay? No, you do it too fallacies. Actually just debate what he said just now, okay? Let's go back.
If we held each other accountable, I do believe Black women would have no choice but to follow suit.
If we held each other accountable, I do believe Black women would have no other choice but to follow suit. If we held each other accountable, somebody say each other. Put that in the comments. Each other accountable. I do believe that we should be held accountable. So I do believe that first part of the statement. If we held each other accountable, I do believe Black women would follow suit. Okay, let's go back. Let's start from the top.
I do believe Black women would have no choice but to follow suit. If we held each other accountable, I do believe Black women would have no choice but to follow suit. And the way we do that, we got to stop cleaning up after each other.
Now, the way we hold each other accountable, he said, is we have to stop cleaning up after each other. Now, what do you mean by that, Bruiser?
That means if a woman has a child by another man, leave her alone, hands off. Let that man, the one she chose, raise that child. And I think when men stop playing stepdad to another man's legacy, two things is going to happen. Women become more intentional about who they sleep with and who they let get them pregnant. And then men are forced to show up because there's no one else there to do it for them. And no, it's not hate or anything like that. Or I'm pushing and I don't like our people. It's just establishing some type of order. Stop rewarding recklessness. And I think a lot of us.
Now, listen, he said this is not hate. It's not that I don't love my people. but I'm just trying to establish some type of order, okay? He's trying to establish some type of order, and I think we should all agree that there needs to be some type of order. Our communities they don't look good right now, let's be honest. And who pays for that is the child. I always say I speak for the ancestors, the one who's passed on, but more so for the ones who have yet to come, these children. And children deserve a mother and a father. That's what they deserve. They didn't ask to be here. And we're out here sleeping with each other. We're the adults that's old enough to sleep around. So the responsibility or the accountability should be on us to provide a mother and father to these children, right? And this happens before you actually have sex, family. What we have been doing, not Black people alone, but everyone, we are not choosing who our fathers and mothers are going to be before we have sex, guys. It's inadvertently happening because somebody got pregnant. That's what's happening. And so here we are now to try to play cleanup and make parenting work with someone that we didn't plan to be a parent with. That's one of the biggest issues with our communities as it relates to children coming in this world and not having a mother and a father in their life. Okay, not planning out children together. Okay, I'm pregnant. Oh, you what? The mother didn't plan to be pregnant, neither did the father, right? This is a huge issue. So he said he's trying to establish some order. So far, there is no problem with his argument. The argument is there. Someone has to refute this argument, okay? Let's continue.
As men are doing it, we don't like to talk about it, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it. But we got to let consequences teach what comfort never will. So if you didn't create a child, you're not responsible for the cleanup. Hold the man responsible and let that woman sit with the choices she made. And I think only then will the culture, will the community start to shift. Until then, we're just enabling and calling it love. But this is a hard choice to make. But I think if we start doing this, it's going to cause a huge paradigm shift.
So
okay, let me stop there. Lacey, you going to say something?
I understand the perspective that he's coming from, but in my opinion, I feel like that's where we are now. Most men are not stepfathers, nor do they want to take that position in families. And what we're seeing as a result is a predominantly single mother society. So if his argument is to create some type of structure, in my opinion, I guess that looks more like bringing back like the shunning of certain decisions. Like, for example, women today can still get celebrated no matter how many kids they have, even though they're not married. So baby showers, you get the oohs and ahs, you get, even take it a step further, government assistance. You know what I mean? Like, as long as a woman knows she's fully supported and cheered on, absent the father, this will continue. I think that's more the focus than telling men don't be a stepfather. If you're trying to create structure to say women will stop making that decision, they will when it becomes a negative instead of a positive, because women don't want to be seen in a negative light.
So dealing with what he said, do you not believe that, or do you believe that if men were to say, I am no longer marrying a woman with children, mm-hmm. that women would think about it, would put more thought into who they have children with to make sure that they don't end up in a situation where it's just them and their children? Do you think that if all men were to stand on that it would create a change? He believes that it would.
I think it would have to be majority in order to have that impact.
Well, all men. Let's say if all men.
Definitely, if it definitely could. But as long as women know that there will always be a man that will, no.
Right, but if they knew for sure that he wouldn't, do you believe they would think about that?
Sure.
Okay.
My thing is, the question really is, why are we putting all these single women into one category? Because there's some single women who thought that man was going to be there, and they thought they chose the right man. And sometime down the road, he ended up leaving. So why shouldn't they, get a chance to have a man to come in and do what he's going to do? But he's like putting in these women who's out here being reckless, just out here having child after child after child. Now there's two different categories. So I don't think we should put everybody into one group.
Right. Now, so far, to his, just to give him the benefit of the doubt here, he hasn't mentioned that these women are negative for having children.
Right.
He's trying to deal with the dilemma of there being single mothers out here with men who have not stepped up. So when he says hold men accountable,
Right.
what he believes is if men say, I'm no longer going to date a single mother, that the men they're with, the men they made children with, will have to step up and take care of their children themselves, because so many men, because they love the woman, will step in and take care of their children, freeing the man from having to take care of his own child. So let's just say you have a child with a guy. It doesn't work out. If another man would just date you easily and say, I'll take care of you and your baby, then you won't have to rely on that other man, freeing him from his own responsibility of making that child with you. So I full well believe that the man who made the child with you is 100% responsible for that child. The stepfather is not the actual father, meaning he shouldn't have the responsibilities of an actual father. But I also don't believe that men should avoid marrying a single mother. I believe that the priority of taking care of the child is on the mother and the father that made that child. So even if a man has a child, a stepchild, the mother he made that child with, it's her responsibility and his to take care of that child. And the next woman coming in his life shouldn't have to be a mother to that child. She would be a stepmother.
Absolutely.
Okay. So he's saying there's an issue with men cleaning up for other men. So his first initial statement isn't necessarily about single mothers. It's about men that will date a single mother and take complete care of a child that's not theirs, therefore letting the man off the hook that made that child. Right? Now, Chatty said something here. She says, I know many black men who thank their stepfathers for teaching them how to be a man, showing them love. With his approach, black boys will miss out on. Now, listen, this is a fact. And see, I really wish this would get said more. The argument is always that it's such a terrible experience for men, and they don't get treated right. They don't get the respect they deserve. And, when they break up, you don't get access to the child, and she'll turn the child against you, and all these different negative things. But we're not mentioning the positives. The positive is that a young child who would not have a father figure in their life will now get one.
True.
And this is why I will never call a man a sucker for marrying a woman with a child, because the child benefits from having that man around.
Absolutely.
And so if a man does this, even knowing the risks, I still would not call him a sucker.
Yeah.
Because he's going to love a child that's not even his. That's a great thing to do.
Absolutely.
We do have other people out here. We have karate coaches, we have football coaches, principals, teachers. All of these people can offer a role model to your child. But a man who steps inside of your home so you can watch a man literally live inside the home with his mother, raise him up, and you see this man active every day, that does a huge benefit for the child. And you got to think about all the children who made it to the NFL, the NBA, went through college, became a doctor, a lawyer, all with a step parent. And thank this man to this day, because he was the one throwing that football with him. He was the one had him running suicides and shooting jump shots. That stepfather provided something that he wouldn't have got otherwise. And that's why I could never speak against this.
Yes.
There's so many young children who talk about their stepmother and having that person in their life when they may have not had that in their life. And so I would always have to say, no, I would never tell a man, don't be a stepfather. That makes no sense. Okay. But I want, before we actually deal with the actual rhetoric that he spilled, let's look at the response. Okay. So you heard what he said. Okay. Everybody listen up at this lady's response right here. Okay. Let's go.
The solution is basically manipulation. We are going to not listen to anything women have to say about what they need in order to feel safe with men, in order to actually be in these relationships and be healthy and happy. The answer that I just heard is to manipulate and to back women into a corner, because there could be many different reasons a woman has a baby by a man and is not with him anymore. So you're basically disciplining women into only having babies by the men that they are married to, also not letting that man die on them or divorce them or leave. Like, men, y'all have such a rigid view of how things happen. You try to put every single thing in a box, and humanity does not fit in a box. Your solution just now is literally manipulation, and you cannot manipulate a woman being left with children. Be it whatever situation. Not necessarily she did something irresponsible to have that happen. There's nothing irresponsible about a woman being married, having a baby, and getting divorced or being a widow. Like, we have to be for real right now. We have to come up with actual solutions, because your method of control is manipulation. It does nothing to solve the problem. The only thing this particular method is going to do is cause an even bigger problem. Because, and I also want you all to get the word legacy completely out of your vocabulary, because I can guarantee you there will be no one that remembers most of you guys' names. Your names aren't on buildings. Your names are not in subdivisions. You can't use your names. You don't have a legacy that you're leaving to a child. You do have lineage, though. So taking care of another man's lineage would be the verbiage that you would use.
Good
Legacy
for you, M. White.
for men who are building communities, who have built things with their names on it, who are in history and record books. That's a legacy. That's what you leave your children. The legacy is what you leave your children.
All right. So I want to go back so we can hear her argument one more time, okay?
The solution is basically,
It's going to cause a huge paradigm shift.
so the solution is basically manipulation. We are going to not listen to anything women have to say about what they need in order to.
So now already, guys, you've heard at ad hominem. She accuses him of manipulating, okay? He simply stated his argument on how he believes he could correct the problem with our society today. And that is by men, that is forcing the men who had the children to stand up. And the way he believes we can do that, forcing the men who made the children to step up and be fathers to their children. And his way of making this happen is that men will no longer marry single mothers and take on that responsibility that actually belongs to the actual father. Okay. He did not manipulate. He did not try to punish women. But of course, many of the things she said, I believe, are very valuable. But the issue with this is how she attacks his argument. Okay, guys? And so she's calling him a manipulator. She's saying that he is trying to back women into a corner, and that his mode of doing that is controlling. This is what you call sign language. Kevin Samuels used to always say it, SIGN, sign language. Shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. Okay. That is not how you should approach this conversation. There were many holes. I don't want to say many holes, but there were a few holes in his argument. Okay. But if you're doing this to go about trying to fill those gaps for him, it's just going to break down the conversation. Okay. Let's continue.
Feel safe with men. In order to actually be in these relationships and be healthy and happy, the answer that I just heard is to manipulate.
Right there, straw man argument. Okay. He said holding them accountable. She's moved this word from accountability to manipulation. These men should be being accountable to their children. However, I don't believe that men choosing not to marry single mothers will force that man to be accountable to his child. I believe what it instead will do is leave this child fatherless with no male role model inside of his home to glean off of, okay? Because men who are not going to be there, they're simply not going to be there regardless. I've never seen a man say, oh, you got another man? Oh, okay, that means I'm off the hook. A terrible father is going to be a terrible father regardless, family, okay? Regardless. Let me look at the comments, respond to some of you guys. At some point, as you said, it's some great stepdads in the world who do more than the dads. Absolutely. Absolutely correct, Mika. The paradigm shift when women, when dating women. Let's see here. Typo didn't create life by herself. She absolutely did not. A child can tell if the love is real. True, they certainly can. And it's another difficult thing for stepchildren, having to get acquainted with this new man or woman in their life, knowing that they would actually prefer their actual father or mother around. That's actually difficult for them as well. And we often are talking about, you know, the discrepancies in us as adults and what we experience. But for these children, this is very difficult as well. Having to submit to some other authority figure simply because your mother or father is dating him or her, right? So I don't think it's fair to group all women into one category. No one knows what the future holds. Absolutely, Hagley. And that's sort of what Jamie was saying. There's many reasons a woman could be a single mother. It's not just because she's toxic. And I think that's the issue right there. Now, I will say this. Regardless if she's in a situation because she's a widow, because she was toxic, or because he just didn't want to be a father, if a man has to take care of that child, the reason why doesn't matter. It's still money out of his pocket. It's still time out of his schedule. It's still advice. It's still, all those risks still fall on that man who's being a step parent. So the reasons why she is a single mother is irrelevant as it pertains to the things he has to do to be responsible for that child. Okay. But when people paint out that she's toxic or that she's the reason she's a single mother, it does group every woman into the same category. And that's called a hasty generalization. Most of you guys will say you're grouping people up, you're boxing everyone in. But the actual term for it philosophically is a hasty generalization. Okay. Gifted Mind says, y'all need to let me on this panel because this relates to me. I was a single mother of 5 children and a man married me with no kids. And we're 7 years strong. I am going to bring you up. I'm going to bring you guys up in just a moment because I want to hear your thoughts on the matter. And I think that was you who Mika was talking to when she said, you certainly don't look like you have 5 children. And by your picture, you actually do not. Hey, Upper, welcome in. I'm glad to see you here. I cannot wait until we bring you up to talk as well. And Amber, she said, my girl Upper and rolled up on this man talking crazy. Right. Let's see here. I will because I was put in that situation involuntarily. Okay. And let's see here. And D Ham is in the building. What's up with you, brother? You're definitely welcome to give your thoughts on this matter as well. I'd like to hear your thoughts actually from a man on if you believe that men should avoid single mothers. Okay. And I am going to bring you guys up here shortly. I just want you guys to hear this argument. Okay. This actual debate. Drop the link. Okay. Chatty has a comment and it's, let me read it right here. She says, Kevin, you know, we peacefully disagree. She responded with his same energy and his entire statement was laced with manipulation. Okay, I cannot wait until you can talk. Okay. Because I'd love to see where you think that he dropped some manipulation. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the link as Upper is requesting it. I don't want her to lose her thought. Hang on. And I will add this, even if you can tell a speaker is being manipulative, it's important to not necessarily say that because you can refute the point without saying, hey, you're being manipulative. Because again, that's still called an ad hominem. How do you drop that? Okay. And there is Chatty's comments. So now that she has said what she said, if I were debating this, okay, Okay. Here's my issue with what he said. Okay. Let me bring Upper up first. Upper, welcome in, love. I cannot hear you. Upper, welcome in.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey there.
I'm gonna let you continue to play the argument before I give my thoughts.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. Well, before I play the argument, I was going to say that when men, and I have to say this because it's men who are here having this argument. When men make this claim or make this statement that men should no longer date single mothers, they're failing to recognize the other side of this, that there are many single fathers out there as well. For every single mother, there's a single father. I'm going to say that again. For every single mother, there's a single father. And I never hear them say women shouldn't date a man with children. But I'm hearing too many times that men shouldn't date women with children. And if you're talking about holding someone accountable, because what he said when he first started off his argument was, we should hold each other accountable. If he had finished off that with no one should be dating a single parent, period, then I could not really argue with what he was saying, because he's just giving his thoughts on how we can make the world a better place. And he believes that by doing this, the actual parents of those children would be forced to step up, which I don't believe that they necessarily would. I believe that it would leave a child without a father figure or mother figure if you have, someone who's not honoring their duties as a parent whatsoever. So if he had said this whole thing, and I think maybe it could be why Chatty calls it manipulation, because he doesn't actually say women shouldn't marry single fathers. Okay. There are issues on both sides, and I'll go over those shortly. Okay. D Ham, welcome in, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yes, sir. My pleasure, King.
I'm just getting here, so I'm just trying to just listen in and catch up on everything.
No problem. Okay, so they both given very, I would say, short responses. So I'm going to run it from the top for all those who are just entering, and then we'll let them continue from that point. Upper wants to hear some more as well. So let's do that.
I did want to say this before you continue to play it.
Okay.
Hey, Upper. Hey, Queen.
What's up? I did want to say this. I think that this is such an interesting topic. I'm so glad you covered this topic, because I think that the mere fact that the question is, and the topic is, man says men should never play stepdad and women fire back, is the title of the video. I think it really speaks on the mindset of not just the Black community, but the world. The way that he's speaking is a direct, this is my opinion, I really do think it's a direct representation of how it shows that, from what I have seen over the years, that the Black woman really is the most hated person in the world. And the reason I say that is because the issue is not the fact that the issue is being made into what women can do more responsibly, instead of saying what the Black community as a collective can do better to create two-parent households and generational wealth and financial stability and more, healthier children. Is being said, well, women should do this, and if they don't do this, then we need to do this to them to hold them accountable. But at the end of the day, just because a relationship does not work between a man and a woman, that never excuses that child being abandoned by the father. So I think that it really speaks to a deeper situation here. I think the better question is, why is it that when a relationship ends between a man and a woman, and they determine that, they're not meant for each other, or they're not good in a relationship, why is it the norm that the children are 90% of the time left to be raised by the mother? instead of being raised by both parents. I think that that's the bigger question that men should probably be answering.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I was saying it would be better if he would have covered the whole side of it instead of dealing with one angle. He said we could hold each other responsible, but he only talked about men not marrying single mothers because that would force men to step up. I'm going to play the argument back. I want you guys to rehear this argument because he hasn't said yet that women are doing anything wrong. He's saying men are, but he's saying the way to make men stand up is to no longer date single mothers. And
this is the reason why I think Chatty in the comments said it was manipulation, and it is manipulation. And the reason I say that is because you're coming in and you're saying, well, this is what's wrong with the Black family, and this is what we can do to fix it. So what we're saying is that the Black family or the woman is raising children alone, and at the same time expects to find a partner. And in order to clean up that mess, so he calls it, in order to clean up that mess, the Black woman is the one who should face the consequence. So that's the reason why it comes off as manipulation. Because if both parties created a child, then both parties are expected to care for the child together or not. And even if that woman decides to move on and marry someone else or date someone else, the responsibility of that child should never leave the biological father. So when you say, well, as a stepfather, a man should not be expected to sweep in and clean up the mess that another man made, but essentially the mess should not exist because that man should still be caring for his child. So in order to fix that situation that's happening in our community, if we were to, if things were to go the way that he thinks they should go, the woman would have to bear the consequence for something that she did not do alone. So I think that that's the reason that it comes off as manipulation. And it almost comes off as he feels like the woman bears the majority of the responsibility for that child. And I think that's a mindset that we have to get out of.
Sure. And so here's why I don't see it as manipulation. Because what I can hear is he sees one side of it. So to me, manipulation is intending to manipulate. And I can't say that he's intending to manipulate anyone. I see it as he doesn't see the whole picture. So
can we hear it, Kev?
Sure.
Okay.
And before I go back, what I'm saying is this: because women are what they call the gateway to sex, meaning that we shouldn't be sleeping with women unless they allow us, and otherwise that's called rape. And so in his mind, because women make the choice on who they get to sleep with, and most men are just available for whatever women would allow them, and women are making the choice to allow a man to sleep with them, he's believing that if men opt out of dating single mothers, then women will choose better men to sleep with. Make sure these men want to be there before they have a child with him, so they're not in that situation. That's why it appears that he's putting all of the, or most of the responsibility on women. But however, he's going about it by saying that men are failing to hold up to their responsibility. Let me run it back, and then we'll deal with this topic again. 1 second. And I'm going to let it play all the way until they respond to actually what she said, okay? I'll let it go a little farther. Let's go.
If we held each other accountable, I do believe Black women would have no choice but to follow suit. And the way we do that, we got to start cleaning up after each other. And that means if a woman has a child by another man, leave her alone. Hands off. Let that man, the one she chose, raise that child. And I think when men stop playing stepdad to another man's legacy, two things is going to happen. Women become more intentional about who they sleep with and who they let get them pregnant. And then men are forced to show up because there's no one else there to do it for them. And no, it's not hate or anything like that. Or I'm pushing and I don't like our people. It's just establishing some type of order. Stop rewarding recklessness. And I think a lot of us men are doing it. We don't like to talk about it, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it. But we got to let consequences teach what comfort never will. So if you didn't create a child, you're not responsible for the cleanup. Hold the man responsible and let that woman sit with the choices she made. And I think only then will the culture, will the
I
community.
have to stop it right there. That statement right there is, I believe, can sound like manipulation. Let that woman sit, or punishment. Let that woman sit with the choices that she made. Let's continue.
Well, hold on, Kevin.
Shift.
Okay.
Well, first of all, that what he just said right there is complete malarkey. But but before that, if you listen to people, always say exactly what they mean, what they really feel, even if they're trying to say it in a politically correct way or clean it up so that, you know, whoever they're speaking to may not look at them as a certain way. So I'm listening to what he's saying, and his exact words were, well, if black men do A, B, and C, then black women will have no choice but to follow suit. So the manipulation is putting something in a particular format so that it leaves very little wiggle room for a person to make their own choice or own decision. So that is really the definition of manipulation. So he's giving a blueprint of how to make a situation for black women so that they can maneuver in a way that they feel that they have to maneuver, because the situation is being created to where they would have no choice. So that is considered a form of manipulation. His whole method and tactic would be a manipulative method to say, I'm going to this is the blueprint that black men should follow. And if we do this, if we stop dating them, if we give them less choices after they have children, then they have to follow. They would have no choice but to follow suit. That is manipulation.
Sure. Now, and you're right. That's what we would call that in debate terms. It's called a false dilemma. Let me show it to you. Welcome in, Sean. I see you down here in the Western. I'm gonna bring you up shortly. So here we go. A false dilemma fallacy. Okay. A false dilemma fallacy, also known as a false dichotomy, occurs when an argument presents two options as the only possibilities, ignoring the other viable alternatives. So a false dilemma is an informal fallacy that limits the options available in a situation to just two or even one. When he said that they will be forced to choose better men, they will be forced to make the man they had a child with responsible. That's a false dilemma or false dichotomy. And this is why I'm careful not to call it manipulation, because a person can present this argument as a false dilemma because they haven't considered what they're actually saying. And we all do this. You understand? We all do this. And that's why it's important to recognize. I guess I use these technical terms because calling it manipulation assumes the person is intending on doing that. So it says this oversimplification can mislead, and you would say manipulate, but this oversimplification can mislead individuals into making hasty decisions based on presented choices. Let's just say, for instance, I said, if I don't say anything back to this dude, I'm gonna look like a coward. I'm not intending to manipulate anyone, but myself in that matter, because if I don't respond to this guy, I won't necessarily look like a coward to everyone. Some people may see me as the bigger person and realize that it wasn't worth responding to anyway. But if you come from a world of instigators, you will believe not responding makes you a punk or a coward or a bitch. And so this will make someone, I could say this, 9 times out of 10, when I was in school fighting somebody, I wasn't even mad. I was only doing it because I know if I didn't hit them in the mouth, people would think I was a punk, or they're going to say, "Ooh, you let him do that?" And so it is a manipulative tactic. You're correct. But when it's done unknowingly, it's called a false dilemma. And that's all I can assume, is that he's not realizing that he just presented a false dilemma. If men do not step up and marry a single mother, this does not mean that they will automatically make better choices, nor does it mean that they can hold the man that they had a child with responsible. And there are other options. You understand? And so she could just stay single and not worry about it, and just raise her child on her own, just like a lot of women do today. And get brothers, fathers, football coaches, mentors, karate coaches, all these different things to play male role model to their child and still raise a very strong child. We can't present that you need a stepfather in the house to raise up a child, because let's be honest, a lot of times you bring a stepfather into the home. I was going to talk about this a little later, but that's a huge risk for your child as well. It's a huge risk for you as well. This risk does not just rest on the stepfathers. Children get touched by stepfathers. Children get neglected by stepfathers, treated inappropriately, beaten on by stepfathers, and treated a lot worse than their actual children by stepfathers. Sometimes bringing that man into your home could be the worst decision you could actually make. You understand? And so having a child with the wrong man would be the least of your worries when you got somebody in your house looking at your daughter weirdly or your son weirdly or mistreating them, because psychologically that's going to take a toll on your child. And these things you may never be able to get your child over. It may change them for the foreseeable future. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But that's called a false dilemma if you're using debate terms. Let me continue this argument.
You and I on that note, we can agree to disagree on that. I understand where you're coming from with that terminology, and that makes complete sense. However, I feel like if someone is presenting a blueprint, meaning they have a plan, it does not seem that they're doing anything unknowingly, or that they are, laying something out because they're ignorant to other facts. It seems like he has a clear plan about how he would like to fix what he considers to be dysfunction. And then not only does he have a plan, but he also has an idea of how it will make the other party maneuver after that plan is carried out. So to me, in my opinion, I just got to stick with that M word. But I do see, where you're coming from with the false dilemma terminology as well.
Sure. And I can't say that it's not manipulation. I'm just saying that's not why I'm calling it that, because I can't get inside of his mind and know that he's intentionally creating a false dilemma there. The human mind does these things on accident. And it's often why we end up with a certain frame of thought or a certain perspective, because most of us don't really know how to critically think. And even when we do, we can still make these mistakes in our thinking. So it's called a critical thinking faculty, but when done in a debate, it's called a false dilemma. You see, just like I mentioned earlier, if I don't say nothing back to them, they're going to think I'm a coward, or I'm a punk if I don't say nothing back. I could be telling myself this, and that's a false dilemma. But if I recognize that was a false dilemma, I could rework that and say, no, is it wise for me to say anything back? Is this thing even worth my attention? Do I want the consequences of hitting this guy in the mouth? Is it really worth it to me? Me walking away does not mean I'm a coward. If I'm afraid, that makes me the coward. But not picking my fights carefully does not make me a coward, right? And you'd want your son to do this. You wouldn't want your son out here just reacting because he doesn't want to look like a punk. And so if my kids went to school thinking like I thought, they'd be in a lot of fights. You see what I'm saying? And so that's why I say I wouldn't call it manipulation, because I can't prove that that's his thought in mind, is to manipulate. But you're not wrong. It is a manipulative tactic. A manipulator would definitely hit you with a false dilemma. But I will say this: if you understood critical thinking faculties, it'll make it a whole lot easier for you to overcome manipulation. Okay. And you wouldn't even have to worry about if that's their intent, because you can spot it when you hear it. It wouldn't matter if that's in their intent or not. You wouldn't be manipulated. So whether it's in his intention or not, he could be manipulating people. So, and I think that's what you mean by it. Whether it's in his intention or not, that statement alone could manipulate someone by presenting that false dilemma that if men don't step up, or if men don't step up to take care of another man's responsibilities, then women will automatically do these things. That's not necessarily the case. Sean, I brought you up. I was going to hit play. Is it okay with you if I do that, or did you have something you want to add right now? Oh, Sean dropped down. Goodness, maybe I waited too long to get to you. And I see D-Ham's back up. D-Ham, I'm going to hit play. I think you wanted to hear the argument. Let's get to it.
Kev, I can't hear anything. Is it my phone?
Yeah, so I can hear it. I want to make sure the audience can hear it. DM, you cannot hear anything?
You have the wrong screen pulled. You could probably hear it because you're not
Oh,
sharing.
goodness gracious, you're right. I didn't pull the right screen back up. Goodness, thank you. Let me do that. Thank you, Upper.
I'm glad you said something, DM.
Right?
I was trying to give him time to. I thought he couldn't find it.
So the solution is basically manipulation. We are going to not listen to anything women have to say about what they need in order to feel safe with men, in order to actually be in these relationships and be healthy and happy. The answer that I just heard is to manipulate and to back women into a corner, because there could be many different reasons a woman has a baby by a man and is not with him anymore.
So, Kevin, so basically, we didn't hear what she's responding to.
So you didn't hear that. Let's go back.
You came in.
But have no choice but to follow suit. And the way we do that, we got to start cleaning up after each other. And that means if a woman has a child by another man, leave her alone. Hands off. Let that man, the one she chose, raise that child. And I think when men stop playing stepdad to another man's legacy, two things is going to happen. Women become more intentional about who they sleep with and who they let get them pregnant. And then men are forced to show up because there's no one else there to do it for them. And no, it's not hate or anything like that. Or I'm pushing and I don't like our people. It's just establishing some type of order. Stop rewarding recklessness. And I think a lot of us men are doing it. We don't like to talk about it, but I don't care. I'm going to talk about it. But we got to let consequences teach what comfort never will. So if you didn't create the child, you're not responsible for the cleanup. Hold the man responsible and let that woman sit with the choices she made. And I think only then will the culture, will the community start to shift. Until then, we're just enabling and calling it love. But this is a hard choice to make. But I think if we start doing this, it's going to cause a huge paradigm shift.
So the solution is basically manipulation. We are going to not listen to anything women have to say about what they need in order to feel safe with men, in order to actually be in these relationships and be healthy and happy. The answer that I just heard is to manipulate and to back women into a corner, because there could be many different reasons a woman has a baby by a man and is not with him anymore. So you're basically disciplining women into only having babies by the men that they are married to, also not letting that man die on them or divorce them or leave. Like, men, y'all have such a rigid view of how things happen. You try to put every single thing in a box, and humanity does not fit in a box. Your solution just now is literally manipulation, and you cannot manipulate a woman being left with children. Be it whatever situation. not necessarily she did something irresponsible to have that happen. There's nothing irresponsible about a woman being married, having a baby, and getting divorced or being a widow. Like, we have to be for real right now. We have to come up with actual solutions, because your method of control is manipulation. It does nothing to solve the problem. The only thing your method, this particular method, is going to do is cause an even bigger problem. Because, and I also want you all to get the word legacy completely out of your vocabulary, because I can guarantee you there will be no one that remembers most of you guys' names. Your names aren't on buildings. Your names are not in subdivisions. You can't use your names. You don't have a legacy that you're leaving to a child. You do have lineage, though. So taking care of another man's lineage would be the verbiage that you would use.
Good
Legacy
for you, M. White.
for men who are building communities, who have built things with their names on it, who are in history and record books. That's a legacy. That's what you leave your children. The legacy is what you leave your children.
All right. So
Real thing.
I'm not surprised by you, Boheme, associating manipulation
Now,
with a man, men holding men accountable.
D-Ham, is he still with us?
And jumping to the extreme.
D-Ham, where are you at, D-Ham?
I think he keeps knocking himself off.
Okay.
Probably because he's taking phone calls or whatever.
Okay. So let me say this on both sides so far. If you go back to his original argument, he is grouping all women into making bad decisions because they're a single mother, when that's just not the case. So where Boheme is correct is he did not consider that women have many reasons why they are a single mother, not simply just making a bad decision. Chatty Cathy covered that when she said that, has he considered that some women made these children with husbands and the relationship didn't work out? Amber covered that when she said that, I'm trying to see why he's assuming that because a woman's a single mother, that there is a man not doing his part. Okay, relationships don't work out often, but both people are still required to be responsible for their child. And the reason that I will always speak up for marrying people with children, men and women with children, is because we've always been socially tribal. We've always understood that relationships don't always work out. And because of that, we have this term called "it takes a village." And because of that term, many children still got to have an active father in their life. Sometimes two, the actual father and a stepfather. Sometimes two, an active mother and a stepmother. And that's great because children need that. And the goal is to raise healthy children. That's how we get into the future, guys, raising healthy children. If you're raising children in dysfunction, that's going to break down our future. Okay. And so I would never believe that. I would never say men or women making a decision to not marry parents with stepchildren would be productive to our future. It'd be counterproductive, because I don't know if you guys realize this, but about 24% of people in our world are step parents. This covers about 50 million people. Okay. Are step. I think it's actually a larger number than that. Imagine that many children not having a stepfather or mother or stepfather or a stepmother figure in their life if we were to make this decision. So I would say that his argument is half. He's only looking at half of it. If his argument would have been presented as, I believe something that would help our community is men and women refraining from marrying people with children. Let those fathers with children and mothers with children maybe marry a person with a child and not a single person without a child. That would make more sense than just putting this solely on men to step up and not marry single mothers, when he didn't put it on women to step up and not marry fathers that already have children. And we may say, well, a man without a child is not a man with a child is not a single father if he doesn't raise him. I beg to differ. If a man and a woman is supposed to be still responsible for that child, regardless of who has custody of that child, they still have a responsibility to that child. So upper, if you were to marry a man with a child, part of his responsibility is to provide for his family, correct?
Correct.
This would mean that part of his provisions are going outside of your home to that child, right?
Correct.
Part of his duty is to protect his children and wife, correct?
Correct.
This means that outside of you and the children that he has with you in your home, he still would have to put his life on the line to protect his children outside of his home. And any woman marrying a man would have to understand that, look, my husband is still responsible for people outside of this home, whether that be financially or with his actual protection and time. And so it would create risks on both sides. You meeting that stepchild, if it doesn't work out, you don't get to know the child anymore, be around the child anymore, potentially. That child could not like you and come up in your house lying on you and all these types of things that stepfathers risks as well. So it's on both sides. So if he's trying to make people be more accountable to the children they created, he failed to not mention women no longer marrying men with children. Do you see my point?
Yeah. And I believe he failed. I believe he failed to mention it because from how he's speaking and his perspective, I believe is formulated from personal experience and personal bias. That's just, again, my opinion. And the reason I say that is because of the words that he's using, the verbiage that he's using. He's getting ready to respond to the young lady now. And obviously he didn't like, her response to what he had said previously. So the first thing that he leads off with is, I'm not surprised by your A, B, and C, so on and so forth. So when he says, I'm not surprised, he gives off the air that he's expecting her not to agree with what he said because of whatever reason. You have to play it to let him get.
No, that's true. You're so smart because you could already hear it way ahead of time. He's about to do exactly what she did, which is attack the argument, the person, and not the argument. So she had a great argument.
But let me say this, Kevin. So what he's getting ready to do is he's getting ready to respond to what her response was. But we always have to look and see the order of events and the sequence of events. The debate started with his point. So she responded to his point. But his point that he led the debate with was extremely biased. So you can say that he was not biased intentionally, or that he was not saying this or saying that because of manipulation, because I got to use that word because that's just my opinion. You can say that, however, his words and the way that he hit the points that he made were an attack, in my opinion, because he's not raising his voice. He's not being overtly disrespectful. He's not calling her out of her name, but she's a Black woman. And he is giving a solution of how to fix the problem within the Black family, in the Black community. And his idea of fixing that is by saying, we have to stop as men coming in and cleaning up another man's mess. And we have to start holding each other accountable, but in the same breath, saying that this would cause women to be more responsible. And this will cause women to be more selective with who they create life with. See, he's double talking. 1 minute he's saying that this is a collective thing, that Black men and Black women have to be more responsible because we have to hold each other accountable. And then he goes on to say, this will force women to be more selective. And that gives the air that he is placing the blame on that Black woman. So no, he's not being overtly disrespectful. No, he's not name calling. However, he is being very, very biased. And so in her response, she did exactly what he did. So now that she's responded to his disrespect, because that's what it was, now he's going to respond to her. And that's what I call gaslighting. That's what I call gaslighting. her response matched his energy completely.
Okay, and Lacey was
Right.
going to say something. Hang on 1 second. What was you going to say, Lacey?
Okay, so I understand the perspective that everyone is coming from, including Chatty. But I guess I wonder, because when I listen to him, I don't hear manipulation. I do understand why certain words may feel triggering. For example, the word rewarding. We use the same exact term as it relates to children and pets. To when we're talking about behavior, when we're saying we see a behavior we no longer want to see, in order to help guide this in a particular direction, we don't reward bad behavior. We tend to cheer and support good behavior, and we don't respond at all, or we respond negatively to negative behavior, so that the person receiving the information understands the difference. Now, while I understand that depending on your intention, that can be considered a form of manipulation, but I'm saying we teach that way. So we understand the tool that's being implemented. I do get that he's coming from a very narrow-minded place as well, that he's not considering all of the outcomes. But like when I hear something that's manipulation, I hear something similar, like for example, when she said, so we're just not going to listen to the experience of women. He didn't say that. Like when you put something in the conversation that wasn't said, that can draw out emotion from someone, that's what I consider manipulation. So I'm like kind of toggling back and forth as to really what manipulation is versus not. Because when you create an impression of somebody saying something, but then when you repeat what they're saying back and you don't hear them saying such things, that's when I hear something manipulative. So when I hear her, I hear something manipulative when she says, okay, you're just not going to listen to women and we don't care about their experience. He said none of that. He said, this is the problem. This is what I think we should do to correct it. While he may have left things out, I think there's a big difference between both of their approaches and how they delivered their point. And there's validity in both places, but only one person stated that the other person said something that they didn't say, if that makes any sense. And when that takes place, that's when I say that is something manipulative, because now we're feeling some type of way about his perspective. You have to rewind it back here. He didn't say any of it.
Now, and great points. And here's what I want to say. If you guys noticed, when she called it manipulation, watch how he responds with, I knew you was going to do that. And this is what I mean by these type of debate no-nos break conversations down. If she would have attacked his argument, which is very easy to attack his argument without saying you're trying to be manipulative. She could have attacked his argument by simply raising the fact that he is extremely biased. Like Upper said, he's absolutely biased in this situation. Sure. He's only considering whatever maybe his experience or the experience of men. He's not considering what women go through behind allowing a man in their house to stepfather their children, and all the risks that she's taking, and why it's likely more viable to make an argument that women shouldn't even allow men to come in and stepfather their children because of the things that women and children go through behind a stepfather, another man inside of their home who's not actually connected to their children. He's more likely to harm your child in whatever way possible, And so this is why I said that these are debate no-nos, because it goes away from the actual topic. So I want to try to not deal with is he manipulating, is she manipulating anymore. I actually want to try to focus on the topic. And I allowed this to happen for a little while because I wanted you guys to see in real time how these critical thinking faculties and the debate no-nos can break a conversation down to where people can come into a place to have a conversation about a real issue. But because we're criticizing each other, we can't actually get to the actual topic at hand. So let's try and clear the air real quickly. Can we all recognize that there is an issue in our community with people making people, not women, but men and women making bad choices in who they sleep with, because this leads to children, correct?
Absolutely.
So as a community, if we were coming together as a collective, we can admit that there's an issue with people choosing to sleep with people far too early, before they know them, before they know their background, before they know their family, their reputation, their plan for children, what they want for their future. If you're the person they want to have a child with and we're already having sex with this person, this is an issue on both sides. And part of the bias in what Bruiser was saying is that he only saying women are making bad decisions. I full well believe that women are the gateway to sex and men are the gateway to marriage. However, men are not being forced to sleep with women. They still have standards that they should be upholding as well. So, and I know this because women throw it at me, meaning they're the gateway to sex and I can only sleep with them if they allow me. But I also know how to say no when it's a woman that is beneath my standard. And I don't mean by looks, I mean by character. So I don't believe the issue is people with children. I believe the issue is low character. Let's be real. Before these women had children, before these men had children, they were already displaying negative character. Toxic people, not everyone. But take Brittany Renner, for instance. She wasn't a single mother when she met PJ, yet she got a baby out of him just to use him. Let's take Dwight Howard. She wasn't a single mother when she met Dwight. She married him for 6 months and wanted a divorce and wanted half of everything he had. Guys would be crazy if they just put single mothers in a category and pretend that women without children have great character. They don't always have great character. Some of them have agendas. Some of them have terrible character, and they just practice safe sex, man. You understand? And so it's all about character. It's not about the children. Chatty said something that was profound here on the back end of her statement. She said that the child is the reward. So to say that, and Lacey made a great point when she said she called that rewarding. It is rewarding. But for him to call that rewarding, it could underline an issue with deeming women unvaluable. I'm not rewarding her by stepping up, but you shouldn't even be with her unless you see value in her. And if you see value in her, you're not rewarding her at all. She is the reward. And that's why I invited a lot of you guys up, or you're up here. Chatty's up here. You guys are single mothers, women who I value your mind, your commentary, the way you think, the way you raise your children. I would say any man would be a fool for not marrying you guys because you have children. No child should stop you from finding a wife. And a wife is someone who's worthy of building a family with. A man's children would benefit from having you guys as parents. So if he was to say, well, you're a single mother, so no, I'm not rewarding you, then you lose, sir. You're the one that loses, because I know these ladies' minds. I know that they could bring value to your home and to your children and to your legacy. I also think her saying, don't say legacy, say lineage. Lineage is word semantics. It's not important to the issue. And to be honest with you, most men in our past, in history, their name was not going to be remembered anyway. And when a man says legacy, we don't mean we'll be remembered. Okay, we're meaning children that actually come from our own biology, our loins. That is our legacy. That building with our name on it, that business we create. These things are considered legacy, but what is truthfully your legacy is the children that you create. Ask any animal out here, they'll tell you the spider puts his whole life on the line to be able to procreate. He knows that she's going to kill him, and he still do it. And that's how valuable recreating life is to all of us. Okay, the octopus, the female octopus, she dies and never gets to raise her children. Those children consume her body after they're born. She doesn't even get to raise them, and yet she'll go get pregnant. And again, that shows the false dichotomy in what he says, or the false dilemma is that if she's forced to be a single mother, she'll make better decisions. No, that's not necessarily true. The octopus knows that it dies as soon as it has a child, and it still does it. The male spider knows that it dies as soon as it procreates, and it still does it. So again, men or women stepping up, he called it stepping up. Men or women stepping up and saying, I'm going to hold single parents accountable would not necessarily fix our community. However, us making better choices would. And so that's simply the answer. Make better choices in who you choose to sleep with, not just have children with, to sleep with, because sleeping with someone creates the opportunity for children. You understand? If that makes sense. D-Ham is back, but I don't see him down there. I want to give. I'll scroll up. Oh, okay, there we go. Oh, Chatty is up here. Okay, I'm bringing Chatty and D-Ham up. But first, before you guys say anything, I'm going to try to let Sean speak. Sean, please give your thoughts, love. I hate to have you up here so long to be able to speak.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Amazing.
In my situation, so the reason why I feel like that's kind of biased is because me and my children's father, we met like when I was 14 years old, and we was together. We had our first child. I think I was probably like 16, and then we had 3 other children after that. So my first 4 children are by him. And so we were together. We were both working at the hospital, and we had an apartment together. And he had got into some trouble, but he was not a trouble person. He was very smart, very intelligent. Went to Clark University. He was very, very smart and intelligent. He come from a very smart background. Our children took on those attributes, and so with the trouble he got in, we didn't think that anything was going to happen major because he had never been in trouble before. And so he went to work. We had routine raising our kids. I think our son was like 5, finna be 6. I was pregnant with my 4th child. And we went to work on our regular routine. We both worked the same place, same time. We come home, we had our routine. I would cook, he would give the children baths. So he was not like a deadbeat. We paid the bills together. He was a provider. And so we were at work. He had to go to court, and he never came back.
Wow.
He never came back and got a sentence of 21 years. And so that I had to, it was so unexpectedly. That was nowhere near what we thought would have happened. We didn't think it would. We didn't know it would. It just happened. And I had to, it was so shocking to me because I'm like, oh my God, I'm pregnant with one. I got to put on my big girl panties and just, because I was put in a situation where we were both taking care of our children. He was a provider. We were both working at the same place. We had a routine at night. And my life literally changed right before my eyes. And he is still in prison to this day.
And you guys had how many children before you went in?
We had 4 children.
Now,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well,
you can ask me.
Okay, great point. And what I was going to say was this. When one thing that Bruiser said was you have to stop rewarding bad decision making, correct? And I want to say this. Even you didn't, obviously, you had a man who was there in your life working with your children until he went to prison. But if someone were to argue that you made a bad choice, does that mean that you are not a good mother? Making a bad choice in the person that you choose to have a child with does not make you a bad mother at all.
Right.
Many men do this too. They'll sleep with a woman and then they'll step up and be great fathers, but the woman they had a child with is kind of counterproductive. She may be very toxic or not let him see his own child. And now he's out here fighting to see his child because he made a child with someone who's very toxic. So he did make a bad decision, but does that mean he's not a good father? So imagine a woman saying, nah, you made a bad decision in who you had your last child with. So all of the qualities that actually yield a good father, I'm going to ignore those. And I'm going to tell you, no, I'm not going to date you. But if he had someone who would work with him, that relationship would be great with this child. The only issue is she's a problem. Sometimes the only issue is he's a problem. You understand? And so again, his argument is that if men stop stepping up to father children that's not theirs, it'll fix the issue. When it won't. It will not. And again, that's ignoring the idea that a single mother displays how she already mothers, which is something that you get the benefit of seeing, where a mother who does not already have a child, you don't know. You know, a father who does not have a child, you don't know how he's going to perform once he has a child. He may run off. He may get. I've seen women say, "Hey, look, I'm pregnant," and the nigga just disappeared. It scares him. You understand? And he may have been a nice guy, have presented great character, but soon as she said that, he started tripping. You understand? Where you might have somebody who you're just sleeping with, and you tell him you're pregnant, and he go, "Okay, let's make it work. Let's do what we got to do." You see what I'm saying? And even then, it's really a bad decision to sleep with someone without being married or having this plan. But they stepped up. You got lucky. I feel like Jamie and I were lucky. We were just messing around. We didn't have a relationship set in place. And she was pregnant. And when she told me, I said, "Okay, good." She was very afraid to tell me. She thought I would be upset. I was excited to have a child, and I stepped up and I married that woman. I wanted to do the right thing by her and the child. You see, and so this means that two people didn't make a good decision, but they honored their responsibilities, though. You see what I'm saying?
Right. And also too, I want to say, because like I have 5 children, and my youngest daughter, father, he came in and stepped in and, took care of, like stepped in, and then we had children, but he was good to my children, but he was like a terrible father. So I get what he's saying, because now he got like 6 and 7 kids, and it depends on the situation. He came in and took care of my children, but then when we had a daughter, he took care of her, but he was not a good father. He wasn't good, but he was good with my children. But he walked away from the responsibility, not only with my children, but all of his other children.
See, some men are only as good as they are in a relationship with you. I've seen it. Men while they're in the home with you, they'll raise those children to be the best father in the world. But break up and watch this dude make a complete turnaround. And I've seen it many times. I've seen the children that the man is the woman he lives with, which is his stepchildren, he'll raise them better than his own children outside the home. They'll barely even see him. And that shows you that he's about as good as he's a great father. Is about as long as you're in a relationship with him. Out of sight, out of mind. If you break up with him, he won't come around. He'll stop doing things. He'll start. It's just how it goes.
Right.
Great points. And you said that you did. You said you met a man who married you despite that.
So yes, So I met a man who had no kids at all, and he married me with my 5 children. And that's why I used to encourage women that there is hope. Just because you were a single parent, that don't think that you won't get blessed with a husband, because he came right in, treated my children, and I did not play about men being around my children. I had girls. I just picked who I was with wisely, because of molestation. I had beautiful girls, and I knew about the toxic touching in the home. So I was very mindful and careful about who I brought into my home, and I just did not play that. I did not play. And when I met him, prior to this, now this is, I can kill 2 birds in one stone, because I was once supposed to get on upper panel one time. So my children's father got out 5 years ago, and he was a great father. But guess what? He flipped when he was in prison and tried to take advantage of our youngest daughter. And that was, now, how did you go from being a good father, love your kids, to now trying to push past and so that is a situation where you like, whoa, that's the real father of your children. And he, the one who you think you would trust, violated, and so
and he tried to violate the one that wasn't his actual daughter, right?
No, violate his own daughter.
Oh my God, that's terrible. Wow.
His own daughter, not the one that wasn't his. He couldn't stand the one that wasn't his. He violated our own daughter. So then that lost trust for, it it made me be really, really particular about who I chose as a mate. And so
Absolutely.
when I met my husband, he didn't have no children, but he came right in. I had a good feeling about him. And my youngest daughter was the one who told my daughter that was violated, like, I think we're safe, like we're safe. I know that, what your father did to you, but we are safe. And he came in like a true man, raised my sons, showed them what a man looked like, never violated, never raised his voice, never did anything to make my girls feel scared. And this is the thing what he told me. When he came into my life, he said, this was his exact words. The one that was violated, he said she needed me the most. And I guess he was meaning like to build that trust back up that there are good men in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what he did. He observed, came in the home, observed the whole situation, and he told me, he said she needed me the most. He never knew what happened until probably about 2 years ago, because I never told him.
And what you just said is so powerful because it's one of those things where I hope there are men listening, and if they don't, they'll hear this. Hopefully you guys come back and listen to this later, but we've heard so many men complain about their experiences while being step parents or parents, whatever the case may be. But I keep saying that women have really harsh realities that they don't really talk about publicly. And if we were to talk about them, you could easily come to the conclusion with your anecdotal, your individual experience that men are not good, period, because you've had a child with a man who waited until your child got of age or older and then violated her. And this ain't a step parent. This is the actual parent, and that would be very valid in you saying that. We can't disrupt someone's experience. And the stepfather came in and performed a lot better than the actual father. So if he were to say, stepfathers, women shouldn't have stepfathers in the home. Again, you just disproved that. Having a stepfather in your home, a man who came into your home that's not the actual father, showed your daughter something different and gave them the ability to trust again and feel safe again.
Yes.
And so we keep hearing about all these horror stories as it relates to men being step parents, but we don't hear enough of where the step parent really saved the day and provided insight and perspective to that child where they wouldn't have had it otherwise. And there's a guy who I'm friends with. His name is Devon. He loves his stepfather so much. He said that he wants to marry a woman with children already because he wants to be for a child what his stepfather was to him. You understand? That's how much his stepfather impacted his life, is that he prefers a woman with children already so he can be to them what his stepfather was to him. And I don't think we talk about those sides of it as much as we should, because there's this idea that stepfathers just go through the worst of it, and it's just not always true. It happens, but we can't make a hasty generalization and assume that being a stepfather is just bad for all men, and I wanted to say this. You said something. You said, I want women to understand that there is hope. There is hope. There is hope. One in 4 marriages actually include stepchildren. That means 26% of marriages include stepchildren. Okay. And marriages where the children belong to the couple, which means both of them have stepchildren. So 26% of marriages include stepchildren where one of them have stepchildren, right? So the mother may not have children, but the father does. And so that makes her a step parent. Or the father may have children and the mother doesn't. And the mother does, forgive me. And that makes him a stepfather. But there's also a large percentage of marriages where both of them have children outside the relationship. And that number was, that number was, I had it here, but it was several million. I'll have to find that. 240 million people are in step parent relationships. where they are a step parent. So imagine all those people said, I'm not doing it. Imagine how many children you're leaving out here. You see, and that's why that's a horrible point to be making. That's a horrible thing to be considering, is that we should stop being step parents. And I lost Chatty Cathy. I wish you come back up so we could get your thoughts, love. For a moment, Sean, I want to grab what D-Ham was going to say. If you love to stay up, please, because I'd love to come back to you.
Okay.
D-Ham.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. What's up with you? What
man,
you got?
I'm having all kind of technical difficulties, man.
Oh, I see that, man.
StreamYard, but this is terrible. But no, I listened in. First of all, I don't want to go back too far because I see that was that Lacey that made a comment after Upper. Both of them ladies really made valid points and very intelligent points based on the way that this conversation is going. And I don't agree with the young man, nor do I agree with the woman's response. I felt like that he is very narrow-minded. His solution to a problem is not a solution. It's just what Upper said is his biased experience. The solution is not that can be part of a solution, but that's not how to handle a issue that stems from our culture. Also, the woman's response to him, I felt like she put in words like manipulation and control because she was speaking to a man based on the way he thought, and I felt like she was, that wasn't fair for the she, like you said, she didn't attack the argument, she attacked at him. I feel like, women have to be very careful using cliche words that stems to men, as far as manipulation, control, when you're having a regular conversation. There's no need for that. So but basically what I'm gathering is that we do have to I think where the problem is stemming from is that that women are the gateway to sex, and we have to teach our daughters and even if they're not being taught in a two-family parent home, there should still be something being taught to make them feel like, hey, you do not have to give up and give into sex too soon, before you are prepared and mature enough to handle it. And I think that if we focus on that, then there will be less. I would say it will be a less percentages of women out here single with babies. Now that does not negate the fact that they can still wait until the right time where they think is the right time and still end up with babies and there's no man around. But I agree with men still dating women with children. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a product. I came from out of a foster. I was a foster child. I was adopted.
Didn't know that.
And when I got divorced from my first wife, I ended up remarrying a woman with a child. It don't take away from me as a man,
Absolutely.
to try to be there for a son or a daughter that may not have a father. And I think that our community needs that because there are so many children that may need a father figure or a mother figure. And I think that just because a woman had the children don't make her the best mama in the world either. So this can go in so many directions of a conversation, because what makes you a good parent, I know people that can't have children and probably can out-parent people that are having children. So
Absolutely.
This is a conversation that we need to start looking at accountability for men and accountability for women. And if we can start putting the focus in where the accountability is at, and being more responsible, then we will get further as a culture, you know, and we will get back to a village where we are looking out for each other.
That's a fact, brother. And look, that's what my stance is. I speak for our ancestors, the ones gone and the ones being born. I don't often speak for us grown adults. I speak for those children because, as you can see, both of their arguments stem from a place of considering the adult. The lady's argument stems from a place of feeling manipulated and backed into a corner of having to stay with this guy she chose or make it work or being alone if she's widowed. His situation, he spoke about it because he's like, he thinks it'll make men step up to take care of their responsibilities. Neither one are considering the actual child. Okay. And so if you're talking about the child, they benefit from having a male or female role model inside of their home. They just do. And like you said, having a child of your own doesn't make you a great parent, period. It just doesn't. You've seen parents neglect their children, not hear them out, be arguing and hitting instead of teaching and disciplining. You know, and all this is what contributes to our society that we see today. It's not just abandonment on a mother or father's part. It's misraising these children.
Yes.
And so, like you said, somebody with more experience and someone who communicates better, who has more patience, could be a better parent to you. And they don't even have a child. And they can still come in and be a better parent with you. A lot of them are school teachers and things like that now. They're just good with children. And a lot of us adults, we're not actually good with children, even though we have the ability to get pregnant and impregnate. We have this ability, but again, because we're not understanding who people are and their character before we have children with them, that's what's causing a lot of these issues. And some things you can't help. Like Sean said that she didn't see this displayed in her child's father until her daughter was already big and grown, and so it didn't come out until later that he violated his own daughter. How would she have known this? You can't punish her and say she made a bad choice when this man is who did that crap. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I would say the same. You can't just punish every man for choosing a woman who doesn't want to co-parent well, who creates issues inside the home. You know, we talk about this all the time, and you hear this in a lot of stepfathers' complaints is that she'll turn the children against you. Haven't we seen them turn your actual children against you?
Yeah.
Like your own flesh and blood can be turned against you, right?
Yeah.
So this is not just simply something that goes on inside of a step-parent home, man. It can happen regardless. So the character is what's important. It's always the character. It's not a child. And that's why I invited some of the women up that I invited up, because they have children, and I know them to be women of value. And I think any man who wouldn't marry them because they have children is a fool. You know, you're going to go choose a woman without children. That's great. You're starting your own family. That's great. But if you don't know her character, you could end up in more of an issue and more of a problem than marrying a woman with children. I'll take a woman with children that I already know how they raise their children. I can see it displayed in their children. I would take that long before I take a woman who doesn't have children but is toxic inside of my own home, where my children witness it every day. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the issue isn't single parenting. That's not the issue at all. The issue with our community is raising these children incorrectly. And that's a character issue, man. I've seen people who were just sleeping together for the fun of it. Jamie and I were dating. We were actually dating. We just were having premarital sex. And if you actually go back, guys, this is why they were saying be married first, because that meant this person wanted to be with you and understood everything that comes with marriage is children come with marriage. But then you got society that ruins it. You got the era of the disco ball, where we were just sleeping around for the fun of it. And so we follow these trends, and that becomes our culture. And now you have, if you're born in the 70s and 80s, you're likely born to that culture of people not actually marrying first. Then you had, before that, DeHam, in the 60s and 50s, if you get a girl pregnant, they're going to put a shotgun to your chest and make you marry that woman.
Yeah.
This is also not considering your character as a man. They're just going to make you marry his daughter because you got her pregnant. But in their mind, you're going to be there for this baby, but they're still not considering that you being there could be the worst thing for this child, because your character could be terrible.
Yes, that's a fact.
And so far too often, the people who shape the character of the child is not the one who's absent. It's the one who's present.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Seeing your parents do certain things is what causes the child to do these same things. They're watching their parent do these same things. And the one who's not there, of course, they miss their parent, but they have that parent that's not there has less effect on that child becoming who they are. It's the one that's there.
Yeah.
So an intellectual woman with children, I would take her long before some twerking woman without children, because I know she'll be a twerking woman with children.
Come on.
She's gonna be twerking with my daughter in the background, and my daughter gonna think twerking is a way of life, and then she's gonna be twerking on the camera too. And that's why I made children with, because she didn't have kids. No, man, consider the character of the person that you're dating. Seriously, guys. Anybody else wanted to add to that?
I did. I did want to say that first of all, I'm I was listening to Sean's story, and it was very touching, and and I'm so glad that she came up here and shared that and was transparent about what she's experienced.
Me too.
Because even though the situation that she's describing was a violation from the actual biological father and his daughter, I'm glad that she brought that up, because I think that it's so dangerous for the stigma to be placed, or an air of irresponsible, or a title of irresponsibility to be placed on single mothers, because it really does leave a woman with the fear of, or a single mother with the fear of facing a particular stigma. And I think that a lot of women really do, a lot of single women with children rush into relationships with men after they have children, because they're in search of a father figure for their child. And I don't even think that a lot of women understand the dangers in doing that, because there's so many different things I can get into as far as, a non-biological parent being placed in a home with children. So I actually think that what Bruiser is saying here is really detrimental to our community, because a lot of women are so desperate to not have that stigma on their backs of, oh, you're a single mother of children, especially Black women. Okay, you're a single Black woman with children, and so that means that you must have done something wrong, whether it was you did something wrong in the relationship, or whether it is that you chose the wrong partner, that still being your fault. So women are actively trying to get that scarlet letter off and get that target off of them, or that stigma saying, I must have done something wrong, and that's why I'm in this situation. So if I can find somebody to come into the home and fix this situation, then when people see me in public with this man and my children, they won't know any better. They won't know if it's the father, the biological father, or what. So when people see me, they won't see me as a single mother. And I think that it's dangerous, because a lot of these women, instead of looking into the background of these men, researching who these men are, paying attention to their character, their behaviors, and maybe even certain red flags, they overlook all of that, because they're looking at the most important part is to just find somebody as a placeholder in the home. And another thing about society that really it grinds my gears, for lack of a better term, is that a lot of times, whether people want to admit it or not, women are definitely demonized for being single mothers. But a man could be in the exact same situation, raising a child alone, and he's deemed some sort of hero. So it's a positive thing. It's a beautiful thing when a Black man, or a man in general, is raising children alone, and he's decided to really take on a responsibility that he is supposed to be doing anyway, but he gets extra kudos and brownie points for doing what he's supposed to be doing. But when a Black woman is doing what she's supposed to be doing, she did something wrong. she's toxic, she's aggressive, she's masculine. All of these negative connotations are placed on a Black woman for doing something that a Black man would be uplifted for. So we have to look at why we think like that. And because of that mindset, there's so many children being violated in these homes. There's so many children being abused in these homes because instead of these women taking their time and researching these men and making sure that if they are a good fit for their children in their household, they let anybody in and kind of just play Russian roulette with their home, because they're so desperate to not be that stereotype. So I just wish that Black men, or just society in general, because I'm not just going to put it on Black men, because it's not just Black men, it's the world as a whole that puts so much responsibility on Black women, puts so much we bear all of the responsibility. We are the reason why, I'm not saying this, but I'm saying this is the mindset. People say that, a woman raising children alone, you have to be more selective with who you open your legs up to. You have to be more selective when it comes to dating these men and figuring out, are they good? Are they bad? We have to predict the future. We have to know that, for instance, my mom was married for 12 years before she even considered having me. And then at 15 years of being married, my parents got a divorce and I didn't see my dad as much. So, we have to predict the future. We have to have these supernatural spidey senses that this is a bad match if it doesn't work out. And if we are unable to predict the future, well, then now we are a stereotype and we have this scarlet letter on our chest, and we have to be faced with certain things. Like, for instance, you see a Black woman with multiple children, a lot of people assume that she's uneducated. A lot of people assume that she's living in poverty. A lot of people assume that she's masculine. So all of these assumptions and connotations are placed on Black women. And like I said, I'm gonna let somebody else go, but it's concerning because it is very dangerous for our children. Because Black men, a part of you all protecting our community, is not making us feel like we're doing something wrong to where we feel like we have to correct it. And we're going to do anything that we can to correct it, to the point that we're gambling with our own children's safety.
Yeah, listen, very, very, very powerful statements. And I want to highlight what
we can't hear you, Kevin. I don't know if you're talking or if you broke up. Can y'all hear Kevin and can y'all hear me?
I can hear you. I can't hear Kevin.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, Kevin.
picture. However, it is being rewarded with celebration. And I think that is more of that.
Kevin, you're breaking up, and what you're saying, we can't really hear what you're saying. We're getting bits and pieces. I don't even think he can hear us.
From the perspective of how Black women are treated, as opposed to how Black men are treated when they're single parents, it does create a huge disparity.
And to add to that,
Hang on, can you guys hear me? Want to make sure there's not an internet glitch. Can everybody hear me?
It was a big glitch. We could have we can hear you now, but we couldn't hear everything you just said.
Yeah,
but somebody else wanted to
would
chime in.
I really wish you would repeat what.
Okay, you guys can hear me?
We can hear you now. Can you hear us, Kevin?
Speak to me if you can hear me, Upper. DM if you can hear me.
We can hear you now. Can you hear us?
It looks like you guys still cannot hear me.
somebody type in the chat and say that tell him that we can hear him, but he can't hear us.
Okay, so I can okay, up I hear you on Jamie's phone. So you guys can hear me, but I can't hear you guys. Let's try something. Let me drop you down. I'm gonna bring you back up. Lupac, you're next on the poll. I'm glad to have you here. You guys drop down and come back up and see if that allows me to hear you guys.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you, Lupac. I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Talk to me. What are you thinking so far? Did you get enough of the conversation to give an opinion?
No. And I'm so late. I'm so sorry I'm so late, but I had some last minute stuff to do. And then my baby girl forgot her tablet at home. So I had to double back and go drop that off. And I'm just getting settled in. But this is, I already could tell that this is a great dialogue. So just kind of give me like a 1 to 3 sentence, just a little summary of what we dialoguing about. And I'll go from there.
Sure. Okay. So the first brother who spoke, he was saying that if men discontinued marrying single mothers, then that would mean that women would make better choices in the men that they're having babies with, and it would also force the fathers who's not being responsible for their children to step up. The other lady was responding to him by saying this assumes that every woman is in that situation because they're toxic. And also it groups all of women together by making it seem like, of course, they've made a bad decision in the man that they chose. She mentioned widows and what if you're a widow and things of that nature. So his argument didn't really consider all the reasons that could make a woman a single mother. Without playing both sides of it, that's about how far we got into this topic.
So he said, let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly. He said that if men discontinue marrying single mothers, that it would force
if men discontinue marrying single mothers,
that it would force the biological dads to step up.
Right, that was part of his argument. And the other one is
ridiculous.
It is. It would not make a man be a better father simply because I've never seen a man say, you got a boyfriend now, or you got somebody in your life now. Okay, I'm no longer doing for my child. I've never seen that happen. And he also said that it will force women. If women knew that men would no longer date single mothers, then they would choose their partners better, so they don't end up in that situation. And that was the next part of his argument.
That is ridiculous. Okay, I'm real big on accountability on both ends. I'm real big on that. But one thing I always tell my ladies on my platform is to make sure, one, if you are not married, you single. So you got to consider that when dating anybody. And also, I don't want to get too deep and too TMI, but just considering the whole actual factor, just be proactive and think about what could possibly happen, what could potentially happen. Because if you were to take that relationship, to the next level and you get pregnant and y'all not married, even though, divorce does happen or whatever, but if y'all not married, I feel like you single regardless, and it's always a chance that man could walk out and leave. Now, we can't depend on somebody else's accountability. We can only be accountable for ourselves. So that's how I look at it as far as, dealing with a man, period. If you are not married, then you have to consider everything, the financial aspect. You got to consider being by yourself, raising that child or children alone, all of that. Because at the end of the day, yeah, we can try to hold somebody accountable, but that don't mean that they're going to do. So that statement was kind of crazy. But as far as, marrying somebody who is not the biological father or mother of your kids, I feel like it's very beneficial. Like I'm a living experience of that, because I actually have two great fathers. I have a stepdad and I have a biological dad. Now, mind you, I didn't have the best relationship with my biological dad growing up. And the crazy part is my parents was married the entire time we were, up until we got grown. My mom actually stayed in a toxic relationship for us, which I feel like, later on in life we had that conversation with her and let her know that that's not that's not the right thing to do, because it actually harms the kids if you're staying in a relationship that's not beneficial to you mentally, emotionally, physically. It does something to your kids, because kids are a product of their environment. So we witnessed a lot of that toxicity, and it kind of moved over to us as adults, with our relationships. I ain't gonna go too deep, but once my mom, got with her now husband, we have like great relationships with him. Like me and all my siblings, you couldn't tell us that that ain't our biological dad. Even though we don't call him dad, like I call him Papa Bear, but I'm closer with him than my actual biological dad, because that's two different types of fathers. Let me just say that, right? We had tough conversations with our dad once we became an adult, and that's now I kind of look at it a little different, which is kind of what helped me heal from that childhood, that environment that I was in. And I even consider the fact of his how he was brought up and what he didn't have. You don't look at those type of things until you become an adult. As a child, you don't understand product of environment and all those different things. So yeah, step parents are very beneficial, and I feel like it's crucial, especially if it's a good step parent. When we look at like um pedophilia and all those different things that happen in the home, people try to you know count those things, but that can happen with biological parents also. So it's
Absolutely.
always a risk factor in any type of. But if you do get a good step parent, I feel like it's very beneficial, especially depending on how they were brought up, because it might be a totally different dynamic. They probably was brought up in a two-parent household, or just brought up the right way, period. Because you can actually raise great kids in a single parent household as well. But I, I'm gonna start right there because I can go on and on. But I feel like his response is crazy. Like that don't even make sense. You can't hold somebody responsible, or hold somebody to somebody else's accountability. Like no, no, that's not going to
You're
make
absolutely right.
somebody else step up. You responsible for your own self.
Absolutely. And you can't punish someone for choosing badly. Their life is punishment enough. You understand?
Exactly. Yep.
The sheer fact that you are a man out here in a difficult relationship, co-parenting, or you a woman in a different relationship, in a difficult relationship, trying to get a man to respond well to his child and do what he's supposed to do. That's punishment enough. You don't need the next person telling you, okay, I'm not going to reward you, or I'm going to make you do this, and so you can learn your lesson. The lesson is learned. The universe is the greatest teacher. I promise you that. It's the greatest teacher. But we're on the same mind frame, Lupac, because I say that no child should keep a man or woman from finding a good husband or wife. And having children doesn't disqualify you from that. And even if you made a bad decision and who you had that child with, it doesn't disqualify you from being a great parent and having
At
value
all.
for any relationship at all,
And that's
right?
that's kind of chauvinistic also, because it can happen on both sides. Whether it's a man or a woman, you can have kids and be a single parent. So like I don't like that mindset. I like the mutual mindset where you hold accountability to both equally. You can't say, oh, it's just all the woman, the woman, the woman, because at the end of the day, men are supposed to be leaders, alpha men, protectors, all of that. So to hold a woman to that standard, and like say you when a man gets with a woman, right? We look at men to be protectors, we look at men to be alpha men, we look at them to be leaders, the head of the household. So it's kind of contradicting to put that much responsibility and accountability on the woman when that man literally goes into that woman's life and helps her procreate. Procreation is 50-50. She ain't
Well,
doing it alone.
well,
We
well,
can't
well,
create babies without y'all seed. So
That
it
is
can
a
make
well,
sense.
powerful point. And hang on one second, D-Ham. Lacey is going to be stepping out. She's going to
Okay.
go take care of Meek, but I wanted her to give some thoughts before she left. Maybe even if it's just saying her goodbyes until next time.
Everybody's been saying a lot of really dope and powerful points. I was going to follow up Upper and Kevin when it came to talking about the imbalance and praising men versus women in the same situations. And I think when it comes to this debate, a big thing that we always have to keep in mind is that there's a distinction between the narrative society is trying to push versus the way it actually is. And we have to know which side of the coin we're actually having a conversation about. It's very true that there is an imbalance there. I was getting ready to point out that even, when we had our son just at the hospital watching people maneuver around Kevin and, come straight to me to tell me vital things and bring me the paperwork and stuff like that. And then the flip side is their oohs and ahs when he's taking the initiative to do this and that, for Samik, and just really being aware in that moment that the expectation is fathers don't participate. And when you do actively see a father participating, you want to clap it up. And it's because even in the medical system, their expectation is women sitting in the clinic waiting for their appointment by themselves. You know what I mean? So they almost don't even see you when you do show up. And then when you're active and it catches their eye, then they pat you on the back because of their experience versus the expectation. So I just think that greatly impacts how we navigate, how we hold people responsible as well. And that's also why the narrative is women need to choose better, yada, 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 because women are the gatekeepers for intercourse. At the end of the day, a man can approach however he like. If the answer is no, it's no. So you want to look at her and say, what are you doing? But it's true. Regardless of how we end up there, it is 50-50. But at the same time, you also have to understand that that's true, but it's also true that when the relationship breaks down, the mother is typically the nurturer too.
Thanks.
So it's like, where do you find balance there if both of those things are true?
And this is why we should choose better partners, because if the man is a utilitarian and he's responsible for making a living for the child, protecting and providing, then we know that in order for him to do that effectively, the mother will likely be the one to raise that child as the nurturer, especially when they're younger. And this is why often when the child gets older, it's hard for the mother to let the child go with her father because, she's grown accustomed to having her child in her life, and letting him go makes her feel like she's a bad parent when really you're a good one. It's his turn. Once you nurture this child, he no longer depends on your breast milk. He no longer depends on your nurturing of him. Now he has to teach this child how to be a man in most cases, especially if it's a boy. And even if it's a girl, it's time for her to see how a man's supposed to treat a woman and see how a man's supposed to live his life, give that perspective on both sides. But if you don't know this, it just leaves so many holes, and who's affected by this is the child, man, every single time. It's the child. And that's why we have to make better decisions for these children.
And also, too, made a great point, too, that even in a marriage, right now we're talking about single parents, but even in a marriage, if you have an actively working father, mom's taking the baby to the doctor. Mm-hmm. Mom's picking up the baby from school. She's working part-time, and that's the parent that you see. So even though we have single parent homes versus, dual parent homes, the way that people interact with these families, they still see the same thing playing out. They still see the woman making all the moves. So that's why they're trying to hold her accountable, whether it's the married woman or the single woman, that is still the same person going to the doctor's appointment alone. Mm-hmm. So they see the same outcome. They can't help but assume, they can't look at that woman and say, oh, she's definitely married. They assume she's by herself.
And that's why they often looked over me when I was right there with you. But they also praised me for not missing an appointment.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Crazy.
It's crazy.
I want to add to what Lacey said, because if you remember, that was my initial thought, because I feel like, of course, we want accountability to be held on both ends, men and women. But realistically, this is why I always tell my audience, you have to consider the fact that if you are not married, you are a single parent, even in a relationship. I mean, a single mother, if you decide or you don't decide, if it accidentally happens, whatever the case may be,
Hmm.
and you end up a mother, you are a single parent because at any point in time that man can walk out and that child is left with you. And it's not too often where the man ends up with the child in that type of dynamic, right?
Absolutely.
The man typically leaves or whatever. So just consider that, especially financially. That's why I say it's good to prepare, um, and be ready. Just be ready, period, because you never know what can happen in that dynamic, and then you stuck with that child. And another thing, I just spoke on this recently. It's kind of adding to this a little bit when it comes to parenting, co-parenting, or whatever. But a lot of women are not used to good fathers in a co-parenting dynamic. If they're, especially if they have multiple baby daddies, they're not used to good fathers. It's like it's foreign to them.
Hmm.
Fathers that want to be really active and overly involved, they create, it tends to come with bitterness. And if y'all notice how people always say, well, why is it that the good dads get the bitter baby mamas, and then the sucky fathers, they barely get any backlash or any reaction, but the good dads get the bitterness. That's why, because a lot of times women are not used to a healthy co-parenting situation, or just that overall dynamic where that man wants to be involved and he's going above and beyond and
Absolutely.
doing more than the norm.
And they
It's
often see
foreign
his
to them.
structure, and they often see his structure as control or domineering, when in fact
Facts.
it's what structure looks like.
Yep.
He's going to set standards, create rules and boundaries, and this gives your child perspective that often can only come from that father. I'll give you guys an example really quickly. One time, Lacey and I was at Dwight's house, and he was wrestling, teaching MMA to his son, and there were women there watching, and they were telling Dwight, "Let him up, let him up, let him up." And what Dwight was trying to convey to them was this: if there are going to be people in my son's life who are not going to let him up because he's crying like a baby. In fact, this is going to make them bully him even harder. So I'm not letting him up. I want him to try and get up using the skills that his trainer has taught him to get up. Now, Dwight wasn't putting all his weight on him. He just wanted his son to try and move to get up. But he wasn't. He was just begging to get up. And Dwight said, "I'm not letting you up as long as you lay there and cry." There's these boys that when you go to school, they're not just going to let you up. And this is a vital lesson that his son needed to learn. And so the men are encouraging the boy to get up. Come on, man, try. But the women are encouraging Dwight to just get off of him. And what Dwight's trying to let them know is, if I just get up, I'm ruining my own child. And they started looking at Dwight like, you're hurting him. They actually was upset with him after it was over, thinking that he was being a bad parent, when the men were trying to convey to them that no, he's actually being a great parent. Him begging to get up shouldn't be the reason Dwight lets him up. He wasn't actually hurting him. That was just the mechanism that the child chose to use because he wasn't used to that situation. You see, and there's a different role for men, is what I'm saying. A man who's often doing the right things will not be loved and adored by his children because he's structured, and a man shouldn't expect to be. He should expect that they follow his guidance and his rules so he can raise them in a good way, but he can't go about raising his children by trying to be loved. It's just not the case. The mother can nurture, but there comes a time even when she has to back her husband up and be strict with those rules. Because if you don't want your child coming back to you in a body bag, if you don't want your child being lazy and insufficient in life and as an adult, you're going to have to let that man do what he does. And I often say to women as a rule of thumb, if that man embodies the ideal for what you want your child to be like, let him do what he does. Do not intervene in that, because he is the example of who your child's going to be. Do not intervene in that, whatever that process looks like. As long as he's not beating them up, you know what I mean, and being too harsh on them. You got to let him do what he does, man.
And that's why, and and that's why I said, and I literally just spoke on this, Kev. I said this is why it's crucial that if you are in a co-parenting dynamic, it is crucial to still put on a united structural front when it comes to y'all kids, because if they are seeing two different family dynamics, then 9 times out of 10 that kid will be messed up, or they will
Absolutely.
use the parents against each other.
It's a fact.
You still
That is
have to showcase, like, if daddy say no, mama need to say no, even if y'all in two different households.
absolutely. Absolutely. Lacey was going to make a point.
I was just gonna say that moment of that time, like watching them wrestle, was a very profound moment for me, because I mean, I definitely feel like both parents should collectively raise the child, whether they're in the home or not. But in that moment, feeling my own emotions and watching his son struggle, and then watching the look on the man, the men in the room's faces. I remember getting up and going over to Kevin, and I was like, you know what's so crazy is in this moment, my instinct says you're hurting him. I feel pain. I feel like I could feel that baby crying out from across the room. I said, but I know what this is for. I understand this. Like, I get it. But I'm like, where the lesson for me was, what's going on inside of me was just like, this is the emotion that causes us to essentially overly nurture our boys, and you know what I mean, that overcompensation type energy, and why a man's energy is so much needed. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, if I was running the show, I'd have been like, get up and give me my son. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, but I know what this is for. I know what he's trying to build here. It made sense. You could see it, and it was, it wasn't anything that you didn't understand. And so it was kind of a beautiful thing just to be able to see the yin and yang of it all, to see that process going on, and then stand on the outside of it and go, everything in me is saying this is no good for him, because I'm thinking about him emotionally, because it's bothering me emotionally. But the point right here is not his emotions. You know what I mean? It's to build his confidence and a bunch of other aspects of what it means to be a young boy. And it was just kind of like, I was like, I know the intention is to keep both parents in the household, but to see it for myself in that context, it was just kind of like, wow, okay, I know it was necessary, but you could put an image to it now. You know what I mean? And that was just like, it clarified so much for me to really be able to observe the benefit of the father directly with your own eyes.
Absolutely. And I always say structure on the outside, which is those disciplinary things and rules that a father sets, equals structure on the inside of your child. And when you think structure for a home, you're thinking foundational things, that the building blocks to it, the cornerstone of the house, those boards that's not supposed to break, that hold the house up. That's what his rules are supposed to create in that child. It's structure. And if a mother intervenes in that, she'll actually keep her child weakened, in a weakened state, weakened mental state. And that's a scary thing. And you can often see that when the father's not present, the child gets bullied more. He doesn't know how to stand up for himself. He's often afraid. And what a father does is he doesn't necessarily give your child bravery, but I would say bravery exists when you are afraid. He teaches his child how to stand up even when you are afraid. I don't care if you're scared. You're not going to let him bully you anymore, because without that father, your child will remain weak. If he can just run from that situation and cower, it's not going to work out in life, and that's why the value is great on both sides. I'm trying to keep these lives short, so I want to read this questionnaire here on something I believe that could actually help our communities. I don't believe the issue is single parents. I believe the issue is character. And so what I put together for you guys is this: a questionnaire for men, and now then I'm going to read the one for women. If a woman has children, guys, if you're on a date with a woman and she tells you, yes, I have children, a good question is, how did that relationship end? How did that relationship with that father end? This could give you indication on if she was toxic in that relationship, teach you some character issues. Does the father of your children want to be involved in their lives? This will give you indication on if the father is an issue when it comes to the co-parenting, meaning he doesn't want to be responsible. Number 3, is he currently involved? If yes, how? If no, why not? Okay, this can give you understanding as to why he's not in her life, in the children's life, if he's not. Number 4, do you co-parent peacefully with him? This could teach you again if she's toxic or if he is. because a woman with children or a man with children is a yellow flag. It's worth pursuing some information on, but it doesn't say it's a red flag. And that's why I want to get out of that idea. Number 5, do you allow him to see his children? That is another good question. And I think that, you understand that question and why that question is asked. Number 6, if not, what are the reasons that you limit him access? Number 7, how often does your child see or speak to their father? This is important. This can show you what's going to be required of you to be their step parent. No step parent should come into any situation to replace anyone. You're there to help, and because it's not your biological child, you're there to help. And so that means that your authority is actually behind the actual parents. Even if you're a man and you're a leader, that's her child and the man she made that child with. So you're going to come in as a helpmeet, a stepfather, not the actual father. Number 8, do you ever use your child as leverage in disagreements with him? Like, do you ever say, I'm not letting him come over there because we had an argument? That would indicate that she has some toxic ways about being a co-parent. How do you speak to your child about your father? Do you speak negatively about the child's father in front of the child? That's important. Even if he's a horrible dad, it's not the child's business. And a lot of times we are giving our children negative experiences through what we say about our children's parents, and that's horrible. They don't deserve that. Number 10, are you open to your child's father? Are you open to your child's father remarrying or being in another relationship? Some women will get upset with you because you're in another relationship, and that now they'll start pulling your child from you. These things will indicate that this is a toxic situation, that she likely still wants to be with this guy. 11, how do you handle discipline? Alone, in partnership, or with the father? Okay. Number 12, do you encourage your child to honor and respect their father, even if he's not a good father? 13, are you financially cooperative in sharing the child's expenses fairly? Number 14, how would your child's father describe you as a co-parent? And number 15, do you take any responsibility for how the relationship ended? Now I'm going to read questions a woman should be asking a man with children. Okay.
Yeah.
Say what?
I wanted to say one thing before you say that.
Okay.
When you said how does the parent, you have to be mindful of how you speak in front of the child about the parent. I call that unintentional or indirect manipulation. Based, because you can alter, of course, kids have to be raised into adults, but you can alter how a child feels about the other parent unintentionally. Even it might be intentional also, speaking badly about the other parent, but a lot of times the parents are product of their environments as well. That's a whole nother conversation. So they just basically going off of how they was brought up. But that's what I call that.
Right. And whether it's unintentional or intentional, they are transferring trauma directly to that child.
Facts.
It's not their business, guys.
That's what I was about to say next.
Right. Because you hear people often tell a child to stay in a child's place, but that's part of that's on us to keep them in their place by not giving them that information. That's for you as a parent to work that out. It's not on the child. And I heard a woman one time say, my children are not ready for another man to be in their life because they're still not over everything that my ex did to me. And it's like, well, why do they know what your ex did to you, lady? Why do they know?
And they wonder why the child don't want to go with the other parent that they barely even been around. You didn't turn the parent into the boogeyman.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct. Like, it'd be weird if a man's telling his daughter how often her mama cheated on him. That's not her business, man.
Facts.
It's not her business. And so now I'll read the questionnaire that women should have for men. The first one is, do you take care of your children? Okay. If he's not saying yes, you should be avoiding this man. Okay. How often do you see them? Okay. How often do you call or communicate with them? If he be like, well, I ain't seen him in 7 months. Well, do you call him? No, honestly, no, I ain't talked to him. Like, I be busy at work. That is, your child needs you regardless of what you do for a living, right? So these would indicate that even if he's a nice guy, he's toxic as it relates to being a father to his children. Okay. And toxic is anything that leads to a negative experience, guys. Not necessarily being a mean person, Do you provide, number 4, do you provide financially for your children? Okay. Number 5, do you co-parent well with their mother? Number 6, if not, why? Okay. Number 7, how did your last relationship end? How did the relationship end with the mother of your children? If he'd be like, well, I cheated on her 12 times and, you know, eventually she got tired of it. Okay, wait a second. You have children, you got it, and you're cheating on their mother. That's not a good look, right? And so these things will teach you the character of a person, that he's not very responsible with the relationships that he takes on. Did you want to be there for your child when the child was born? The reason this is a good question, guys, is because it shows his responsibility and his habits before even making the child. This means that he was likely laying down with women who he didn't consider a future with. And that's not good for a man to be doing. Lupac said it. She hit the nail on the head. And Lupac, in all honesty, that's a great argument for a lot of things that people don't mention. Women are the gateway, but men are leaders. So I don't care if she's the gateway. You should be strong enough to lead your own life and know that you shouldn't be sleeping with a woman that you don't want to be with. I don't care if she's the gateway. Because and honestly, my opinion is we're the gateway too, because I don't have to sleep with you just because you let me. So for men to say we're the leaders and then say she's the gateway is to deny the fact that you're a leader. You have responsibility in this also. It takes two to tango. That's why I like that statement a whole lot better than women are the gateway. It takes two, you know. Yep. So I don't care how loose she is. You're equally loose if you're just sleeping with this woman and not knowing who she is. That's crazy. Right. You know. So and let's see. Yeah, the number 8 was, did you want to be there for your child? Did you want a child when it was born? Okay. Number 9, when she told you she was pregnant, what was your response? This is important. Number 10, did you plan to have a child with her, or was it unexpected? Again, it shows you his responsibility, how much thought he puts into his relationships. Number 11, did you attempt to build a relationship with her once the child was born? So even if you didn't want a child with her, did you attempt to create a family around her by saying, okay, I'm going to step up. We weren't in this to have children. We weren't in this to even be together, but you have a child now. Let's get to know each other. You got 9 months. The universe gives you 9 months to be able to get to know this woman, to form a relationship and a healthy relationship around how you're going to co-parent, even if you don't see each other worthy of being in a relationship with. Okay. But you shouldn't even be messing with somebody who you know you wouldn't be with, to be honest. You know, we do it, but we shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Number 12, did you take a DNA or paternity test? And if so, and if you did, why did you do that? He should be saying because that's the responsible thing to do. Again, if he did not do this, it indicates that he's not very responsible as it relates to taking care of children. A man should 100% get a DNA test. If she says you're the father, then you should be proactive in getting a paternity test. And you don't have to ask. If she says you're the father, that gives you proof. That gives you permission to act as a father would. And you should always do this. This is important for the child. We should make sure the child gets their real parents. And if something happens to them medically, you will know this child is yours and you know your medical history. And if something happens and they need some type of transplant or something like that, then you know you're the actual father. Too many times, men are finding out they're not the actual fathers. And this is another reason why I won't put toxicity on single mothers, because a lot of this happens with women who didn't have a child at first. She was lying about the paternity of the child. And so number 13 is, and I was going to say that's to deny the reality of a man is that this can happen. You know, it may not be your child. And so if you're not being responsible to a reality, that's indication that you're not a responsible man. Okay.
I think they need to make it mandatory, honestly.
They absolutely should. But until then, men can go right to CVS and get a test. Let's be real, you know. But they should make it mandatory, Lupac. I 100% agree. Number 13 is, when is the last time you saw your child? Okay. Remember, you asked the women, when is the last time he saw his child? How often does he see his child? Now you're asking the man, when's the last time you saw your child? Number 14, do you regularly pay child support or voluntary support? This is important. Number 15, do you speak positively about your child's mother in front of your child? Remember, this was asked to the mother about her child. So the father, he'd be causing the same damage if he's speaking negatively about the mother in front of the child. So important question. Number 16, do you spend time with your child? Do you teach them skills, values, and legacy, not just fun moments? So I took him to the zoo. I took him over here to do this fun thing, but do you teach your child discipline? Do you give them structure? Because I mean, I know you guys have probably seen it, but the fun dad, he don't teach them nothing to make them responsible. He gives them all the candy they want, even when the mother says, look, I don't want him eating all that candy. And again, they're raising the child to be loved. And they're not raising their child to raise a responsible human being. They're raising their child to get validation from the child. And that's raising children backwards. You'll be a horrible parent doing that. So afraid your child will be mad at you for something. The answer is no. I said you couldn't have it. Right? They can cross their arms and call you mean all they want to. It shouldn't change your answer. And number 17, the last one was, if you could change one thing about your role as a father, what would it be? And this can give you some insight into how his parent, how it looks with him being a father. Okay, if he could change one thing, what would it be? And I'm going to give these as if you email me or if you send me a message, I'll send these to you. But I just 100% believe it's not about people having children, women or men. It is about their character, family. And if you want to raise great children, successful children, children who are successful for a community. I'm not saying they got to go out and be lawyers, but children who are not recreating the chaos that we see in this world. They need two parents who care about them, who love them, and who are focused on this child's future, you know? And so hopefully this live gave a lot of some insight. And I'm about to end it. The next one, guys, I'm going to be showing you some harsh realities from stepfathers and stepmothers. And these are the exact arguments that they use to tell somebody they shouldn't be a step parent. And I want to show you guys the mistakes they're making in assuming that this is being a stepfather or stepmother issue, because that's not the case. Often people are not really focused. They're not really highlighting all the issues that went on in their experience. But I'm going to allow Lupac and Dehan and Jamie's still with me. Jamie don't really talk that often, guys, but I want to let you guys give some thoughts, and then we're going to close this live out and continue the next time. And thank you so much, Upper. Thank you, Lupac. Thank you, Deham. Chatty, thank you so much. And I wish I could have got you up here. I don't know what happened, but hopefully the next time I can get you up here. And Lupac, Deham.
Go ahead, Deham, you can go ahead first. I heard him. He was trying to say something.
Yes, me too.
It sound like.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can y'all hear me? Oh, okay.
Yes.
No, this was a very, very great conversation. It can really go into a deep discussion. I was trying to just it was good I didn't speak because I was almost close to changing the way the conversation was going, because I do agree with accountability, on both sides. And so that can go real deep. And it can, and I think that people have to consider what that look like, what that look like without getting offended. So I'll be prepared for the next time you want to go live and even take it to a deeper place, Kev. I appreciate this. It was good listening to Lupac's point of view. Upper, she definitely is a strong, vocal and very on point, intelligent woman. So her point of view was very profound and meant a lot. I want to thank Sean, the girl Sean. Her story was very powerful. And Lacey, I believe, was that Jamie or Lacey speaking, Kev?
That was Lacey.
Yeah, she's on point. She got it. So I appreciate y'all, man, for having me. And the chat, love y'all. And go ahead, Lupac, you got it.
Thank you, Deham. I just want to kind of add to what I said earlier. I didn't get to hear what he actually said, but you kind of gave me a little synopsis, bro. But I feel like it gives very much chauvinistic, very much red pillish, like you all for men, because at the end of the day, that's real ignorant to even make that kind of statement. Because if you want to be considered and respected as an alpha male, a leader, anything manly, period, you can't put that type of stigmatism or responsibility on or accountability on just the woman. Like, make it make sense, because a man is supposed to be a leader. So to say that literally goes against everything a man is supposed to stand for, as far as being the head of the household, even if you are not trying to be in that household. So, just kind of add to that a little bit. But yeah, like that didn't even make sense. How you can't it's like projecting accountability, like third party accountability. It don't I don't even know how to put it because it's like you saying that a man shouldn't marry a single mother. That way it'll force the father to be in that child's life. No, because I'm pretty sure whoever that lady, no, let me say this. I'm pretty sure that before that lady, that single mom even got into a relationship, that man, that father was already gone due to his own personal reasons. So no, it don't even make sense. He sound
No,
crazy.
it doesn't. It doesn't. He believes that it would make the father of the supposed child step up, which I don't believe it necessarily would. If the father's not going to be there, nothing's going to make him step up.
Period.
He's a horrible dad. That means he's a horrible person, has horrible character. And if the woman's being toxic, that's not going to make her go back to a guy she doesn't want to be with. It's just not.
Because if we going off of that, he would be there regardless. He would already be there. We wouldn't even be having that conversation.
Right. So it wouldn't fix this problem that we're having. And that's what he was kind of presuming there. It was a one-sided argument because he also didn't call out, and he also didn't tell women not to date men with children. He only said men shouldn't date women with children, which is crazy. It's one-sided. I don't like one-sided arguments.
Nope. Not
especially
fair.
when as it relates to fixing our community. You can't just have one person step up and the other person still go around, doing things. And one thing we'll talk about on the next one too, Lupac, and I don't know if you've heard this one, but single mothers aren't to marry. They are only for recreational use. And you know what I mean by that. And this is the actual terminology they use, is that single mothers are only for recreational use.
I definitely want to get into that conversation, especially nowadays, because if we're going to take it there, if we're looking at this generation, it's a whole lot of women who you can pretty much say might not even need a man. So that's a deep conversation. We can really go down that rabbit hole.
Right. It's to say don't marry them, but sleep with them. And that just recreates the problem because
a lot of valuable women out here. So,
but that's how you get children, is by sleeping together. So if you're still telling men they can sleep with them, but not marry them, then you're still creating the same problem that you're complaining about.
Yep.
And also it's a problem because you're sleeping with people that you don't want to be with, but you're also faulting her for making a bad decision on who she slept with. It makes no sense, but yeah, we'll definitely get into that.
Devaluing yourself as well. Like we are, even though men are men and women are women, we still should be held to the same value level, period. When it comes to sexual partners, whatever, like the value is the value. Like let me know when that conversation gonna go down.
I am. And I thank you. I thank you so much, Lupac, for joining us. And again, thanks to all of you guys who gave your perspectives, brilliant thoughts. And I promise you, every one of you guys got me thinking. Jamie, you just something? Yes, Upper, I sure will. It's called the Lapeef Network, and I'm going to send you the link personally to this exact video, and then you can go from there and scour the channel. I'm sure you'll find a lot of content on there to debate because it's a lot on there to debate. And let me just say this too. No one on this panel, guys, is an idiot. Every last one of them are intelligent. What I like about Lapeef Network is that he puts a lot of people on that panel, just like all of us are up here. He puts people up there who offer insight. And even though we don't agree with what the brother said, he's no dummy. I promise you guys. And so every one of them have something to offer, even if we disagree with some of the things they say. So this is a good channel to follow. I like all of these guys up here. Bohemi, I disagreed with her confrontation of his point, but she's also very intelligent. Every last one of them. There's no unintelligent people on this platform. Okay, so just understand that we're not bashing the people at all. We're refuting the logic because again, we're also invested in our community being better as it relates to our children. So thank you guys very much for watching. And again, that's called the Lapeef Network. Give them a follow, guys. And thanks to all of you. If I didn't mention somebody who I allowed up here, charge it to my heart, okay? I mean, my head, not my heart. Oh, and thank you guys for super stickers and super chats. I am completely out of time, but let me try and run through these. And I also put my Cash App up here too, so you guys can support the host. My birthday's coming up. It's August 26th, which is Tuesday. So hit the cash app, Dr.
Can I
Umar
have
Voice.
a birthday live, Kev? I'm about to
Yeah,
get
all right.
down, but thank you for having me. And like I say, let me know when we're gonna do the next one. I'm gonna definitely be there.
Absolutely. I sure will,
All
Lupac, and
right.
thank you.
Okay,
All
you're
right. We'll talk
welcome.
to
Bye,
you.
y'all.
Happy birthday. And
Yeah.
Thank you.
I hear you in that Dr. Umar voice.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay now. All right, hit the cash app.
Hit the
All right.
cash app, man. All
Yes,
right,
sir.
brother.
Yes, sir. All right.
Am, thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat, love. It's a real treat. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And of course, it's the first time my wives are with me on here. We're gonna continue doing these. So thank you so much, Buttercup. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat as well. Much appreciated. Lollipop, thank you so much. What was it? No, hey, why I say lollipop? Where did I get that
It's
from?
okay. I don't.
There's something say lollipop somewhere. But anyway, Leela Johnson, I'm gonna call you lollipop. I don't know how I did that. Thank you so much for the $1.99 super sticker. And of course, Terry Dow. Thank you so much, brother, man. All right, hopefully y'all still on here and then move on. But thank y'all so much for your support. I will see you guys next time. I love these intellectual conversations. I don't expect the room to be completely packed out when we're having these type of builds. Not everyone even grasps the subjects, okay? But I'll always give my true organic thoughts on these matters. And like I said, I want to try to get through these, like, of course, without making the debate fallacies. And we'll teach on them as we go on as well. All right. But that being said, peace to you all. Jamie, you got to say something.
Oh man, this was a great build. Thank you all for joining. Everyone who added on, you did your thing. And until next time.
Absolutely. And then look, not that I missed one. Hagley Grandabay says, when Upper is on the panel, I get so excited. I love it, man. I love Upper's mind. I love all of their minds. This is very refreshing, man. I love a great conversation. Y'all would have had me all day if I wouldn't already goaling myself to not do these lives for too long. I meant to get off at 8:30, but thanks to you guys, beautiful minds, you kept me on an extra hour. All right. But powerful build. And again, Cree, I would love to have you up here because even if you don't have children, you have a beautiful mind. I love how you think as well. Am, thank you so much for getting in touch with a lot of these people. I would love to have you up as well. Next time, get on up here and give your thoughts. I want to hear them. Mika, you too, love. Come on now. Look, I'm going. I'm scrolling up and looking at all you guys' comments, and I'm seeing how the conversation got so good. I failed to bring a lot of you up or request a lot of you guys to come up. So make sure y'all make the next live, y'all. Seriously. All right. We'll end up doing a thing like this, the way they got all these people on this panel. It'll be all of us on this panel, and we'll have our formal debates on certain topics. Okay. Hopefully you guys are up for that. I know you are. A great mind is always up for a little bit of sharpening, little bit of sparring with another great mind. All right. I'll see you guys soon. Much love. Peace. Martin and Pam's voice.